grandstand at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Nearly 140,000 people are here for this running of the Coca Cola 600. Hi, everybody. Mike Joy with Darrell Waltrip and Larry McReynolds. In the 50-year history of this race, no one has gone to victory lane as many times as the man to my left. Darrell Waltrip won this race 5 times. How do you do it?
Well, for one thing, you don't get frustrated. You know, your car may not be perfect. You're going to have to give the team, you're going to give the crew chief a chance to work on it, to get it where you can drive it. Just like we saw in the All-Star race. Kurt Busch didn't have the best car all night long, but he had the best car when it counted. He relied on his crew chief. He listened. He picked his fights, and when it was time to go, he went. That's how you win the Coke 600.
Larry, this has been a season of many changes, but tonight will be an evening of many changes.
Well, yeah, I mean, Mike, this race is 100 miles longer than any other race that we run. And of our 36 races, there's no race conditions that change as much from the start to the finish as the 600 miles, 400 laps we're going to go through tonight. These crew chiefs are going to have to get very aggressive with changes on their car as we go through those changes. Yeah, it's going to be a mental challenge for my driver, but it's going to be a mental challenge for me as a crew chief and a huge physical challenge for those pit crews. They're going to make a ton of pit stops tonight during this 600-mile race.
Tell me one more time you're going to make it better for me.
Just hang in there with me.
All right, we're ready to race in Charlotte. Here is a look at the starting lineup for tonight's Coca Cola 600. Brad Keselowski goes to the rear because he is in a backup car after a practice crash early in the week and did not use the same engine in the car in which he qualified. Todd Bodine has also made a change, and his car will also start in the rear. Take a look at these front 5 spots carefully, because half the Coca Cola 600 have been won from the front 5 starting positions. Ryan Newman trails only David Pearson in poles 1 for the Coca Cola 600. Darrell, who are you going to dial up?
Let's see if we get Casey Kane here. He's starting outside second row. Casey Kane is DW at Fox Sports. You got a copy, buddy?
Yeah, I got a copy, Darrell.
Hey, buddy, you got a nice starting spot there. These 1.5 miles have been good to you. How's it looking for tonight?
Well, yesterday was really good practice. The Budweiser armored car was fast, so we'll see what happens. Definitely excited to be racing today on Memorial Day, and we had a fast car yesterday. We had a great nationwide car yesterday as well, so hopefully we can keep that rolling tonight.
Yeah, 10-4. Casey, are you going to try to run the top, the bottom? I mean, there just seems to be just a multitude of different grooves that people are running here. What's your plan for the evening?
Yeah, I worked really hard on a couple of areas on the track yesterday, and I think the top's going to be pretty fast here when the sun's out. But come tonight, you'll be able to go anywhere. At least the guy that wins will be able to go anywhere. So hopefully. We have that figured out by tonight, but I think the top's going to be pretty fast once the tires get hot here in about lap 10 or so.
All right, my friend, good luck tonight, and bring on engine number 9 back to the line, and good luck.
All right, thank you.
Today's race is brought to you by Budweiser, the beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, clean finish. Budweiser, it's what we do.
Now let's take a look at our FedEx understanding the race, and we're not going to necessarily look at trends or patterns. We're going to look at the condition changes that we're going to go through tonight. Daylight, which we're going to take the green flag. Twilight we'll go through, and we'll end this race at night. Now, the first conditions when they take the green flag, here's what they're going to experience. You can see the air temperature 185 degrees, track temperature 111, track conditions, it's going to be slick. They're going to be complaining about no grip. The trouble spots will be turn 2 and turn 3. That's where the sun's hitting right now. The car needs more grip front and rear, and what we'll do is we get through this race, when we get to twilight night, we'll explain those conditions and what they're going to be looking for as far as changes.
All right, let's get a quick word from pit road. Steve Burns.
Well, Mike, Jimmy Johnson has so much success here, 6 wins. But today, Chad Canal said until that sun goes down, we don't have any idea of how good we're really going to be at the end of the night. Matt Yoakum.
Statistically, Steve Burns, Charlotte is Kevin Harvick's worst racetrack, but you wouldn't know it this month of May. It's strong last week, strong again this week. But Gil Martin's concerned Larry Mack's first segment, the daylight, worried about the car being way too free early on. Chris Devoda?
Jeff Burton had one of the most consistent cars in all of the practice sessions, but he did not qualify for the All-Star race last week. He is lacking in nighttime laps with this new spoiler at this track. Mike?
Thanks, Krista. We're ready to race in Charlotte. You see them in turn 3 in bright sunlight. They'll come into turn 4 in the shade, and the shade will grow and the track will change.
DW, 600 miles, 400 laps. The longer we go, the faster she's going to get. 10 years of NASCAR on Fox. Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
Green flag is in the air. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Happy Memorial Day, everybody.
Nice move by the Rocket. Ryan Newman, the pole sitter. The sweep down, take the low lane, go back up high and cover the spot. He may have company though from Kurt Busch. No, it's Kane around the outside coming.
DW talked to Casey Kane in that 9 car. He talked about he thought the high line would work, and he got a great run through 3 and 4 that time.
First thing you got to do when you start this race and they're all bunched up like this, you got to be aggressive, but you got to be cautious too. You always have an early caution. Cars are not handling like guys expected them to. Somebody always spins out early in the race.
43 cars race into turn 3. Kane again works the outside on Kurt Busch. Battle of the Beers for second place. Newman, Kane, Busch, Truex, and last year's winner David Rudiman in the 0-0, the top 5. Then Joey Logano, Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin.
Got to get through these early laps. These are always the most nerve-wracking as a driver. Cars are moving around a lot more than you expected them to. Track's hot, track's slick. Got to get through these early laps.
Yeah, Darrell, the track has been sitting all day long with the sun just beating down on it, and all the oils come up, and it is slick right now.
Yeah, right now you don't fight with anybody. You don't want to be contested. Somebody's better than you are, let them go. Don't race them right now. It's too early.
Montoya side by side with Jimmy Johnson, and back in that second pack. Juan Montoya in the 42 just passed 3 cars on the outside. Now that target car has gone to the bottom with Dale Earnhardt Jr. alongside.
Montoya in the 42 car, he has had a fast car for a week and a half out here. He just doesn't have a lot to show for it just yet.
Steve.
Mike, Jimmy Johnson just told Chad Canal that he thinks there's oil down on the track between 1 and 2. Chad said that they'd let NASCAR know.
Steve, it's interesting you mentioned that, though, because we did get a report that the 36 car, that he was actually smoking just a little bit.
That's Johnny Sauter in the Tommy Baldwin car.
Every time I ever started this race, I thought there was oil on the track. That's how slick it is.
Hot
it's
and
really
slick.
It's like racing on dirt right now.
And that's just the way David Rudiman likes it. Here he comes for 3rd place against Casey Kane.
Some of your good dirt track racers, they probably wouldn't complain that much right now, but this track is really, really a handful for these guys at this moment.
Breakaway at the front of the pack of the first 8 cars. Back through Denny Hamlin, the 11. Right behind his teammate Logano. There's that breakaway. Then comes Clint Boyer trying to catch that lead 8. Logano looks like he may win that battle with Jimmy Johnson for now.
And here's what you're going to see. Turn 1 and 2 got a little shade on it. Run the bottom. That's where the grip is. Turns 3 and 4, a lot of sunlight still beaming down on that end of the racetrack. Probably get around the top and make some pretty good time.
But here comes Hamlin. Now the bottom worked for Logano. Here comes his teammate in the 11.
You see that 48 car of Jimmy Johnson. He's working the high side at both ends of the racetrack right now. Johnson back in the 8th spot right now.
But the really smart guys, they find a place. If it's the bottom, fine, run there. If it's the top, fine. Find you a place, settle in, and then start telling us what the car's doing. You see Montoya here. He's flying around the outside.
He goes past Sam Hornish, 16th place, and here comes Harvick. The Sprint Cup point leader in the 29 Chevrolet, Kevin Harvick, drops to the inside on Montoya. Behind them, Montoya's teammate Jamie McMurray in that orange #1 Chevy.
He's actually moving up pretty nicely. He started back in the 27th position. He's already up to 19th, and we're not even 10 laps into this race.
One of the keys to having a good finish here and running good here is stay on the lead lap until the first caution. You don't want to go a lap down early here. Even though there's ways to get them back now that didn't used to be, you still need to stay on the lead lap and run to the first caution.
Harvick's going to pick up 2. They sandwich Hornish in the middle of turns 3 and 4. Harvick and McMurray make the pass.
We see McMurray in the 1 running the high side. I think during both practices yesterday, I never saw him off the top of the racetrack. That's where he spent both practices.
Kurt Busch coming after Ryan Newman. This is for the lead. Newman has led the first 9 laps in the Army Chevy. Here comes the Dodge of the All-Star race winner, and this lap settles for second.
And as we look at the racetrack, about half of it shaded, coming out of turn 4 and going into turn 1. Still got a good bit of sun though beaming down on turn 3. That could be a problem area.
But watching that 2 car of Kurt Busch running the bottom most of the night the other night in the All-Star race, he spent running the top. The downside of being up there where Ryan Newman in the 39 is, if you step across that cushion, it's slick up there, you'll hit the wall just like Kurt Busch did in the All-Star race, but Newman continues to get the run off the corner.
Newman has now led all 11 laps of this race.
Richard Petty used to tell me, I said, why you run so close to the wall? He said, because if you hit it, you don't hit it so hard. I said, yeah, but don't you hit it a lot?
Lead change. Kurt Busch, who cashed $1 million check here last weekend, goes in front of Ryan Newman, and Newman goes up the hill, and here comes Rudeman.
Ryan Newman in the 39 is not getting in the corner that good right now. You could see how much Kurt Busch in the 2 pulled him getting into 3, and that's where the 0-0 of David Rudeman made up some ground.
Krista on the new leader.
Ironically, it's exit is where the team is telling Kurt Busch that he is doing a great job. They came on and said, you are doing great. You're hitting your marks, especially corner exit. Keep it going.
He's going to have to keep an eye on that mirror, because here comes Rudeman hugging the white line at the bottom of the racetrack in his Toyota.
Now don't forget that this is our defending race champion right here, David Rudeman. A lot of people think he lucked into that win because he stayed out when the rain came, but he's got a fast car this weekend, Dick.
Indeed he does, Darrell. He started in the 6th position, and David Rudeman has got a fast car. What's really interesting, though, is Rodney Childers told me before the start of the race, he's the crew chief, that he expects little change in the behavior of that car as we go from day to night. He thinks if they're fast at the beginning, they're going to be fast at the end, and they sure are fast now.
No pressure from behind me. It's all you.
Kurt Busch with an 8-car length lead on Ryan Newman, David Rudeman, Martin Truex, the showdown winner, up for 4th, and Joey Logano 5th.
The Coca Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by Coca Cola. On this Memorial Day weekend, Coca Cola and the Coca Cola racing family salute the fine men and women who serve their country.
Summer's officially here. Collect the Coca-Cola cans of summer. Open a Coke and open happiness. Ryan Newman led the first 11 laps of 400 that will run here tonight. Kurt Busch has been out front from there, with Newman second, holding off David Rudeman, Martin Truex, and Joey Logano. Casey Kane now 6th. Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, Clint Boyer, Kyle Busch, the top 10.
I know it's early, but look at those 2 MWR cars up there. Truex is running 4th, and Rudeman's running 3rd. And Larry, you know, Truex was a guy that you felt like that had a good shot at winning this race.
Well, I've been watching him out here for a week and a half. You know, he won the Sprint Showdown race the other night that moved him into the All-Star race, finished 2nd there. But it just seems like that this 56 car with Martin Truex Jr., his crew chief Pat Tryson, they just keep getting stronger and stronger. After 4 races, they were 24th in the points. Now, after 12 races, they're 12th in the points.
You think it's any coincidence that the guys that ran really good over here in the All-Star race are all running up front tonight?
Not the least little bit. Biggest movers, Keselowski from the back, backup car. up 17 spots. McMurray, Biffle moving forward from the back. And whoa,
teammates.
That was quite a push that Hornish just gave Brad Keselowski. Don't know if that was assistance or a message.
I think it scared Sam Hornish in the 77 so much he backed out.
I think it was almost an accident.
Matt?
Well, there wasn't any indication on the team radio. Brad said really nothing about that incident. He did tell Jay Guy about 10 laps ago. He said, you are making me look good because right now, at this point, this car is awesome balance-wise. He's going to have to take his time to work his way to the front.
Here's what happened coming up off the corner. Oh, that's a little help.
Oh, no, I tell you what happened there. The 12 was moving to the right, and the 77 was going to bump draft him. Not a good idea when the car's moving to the right like that.
But a much better result than when it happened between teammates Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin last Saturday night.
Plus the kid in the 12 car, he's playing hurt today. He got through yesterday's race pretty good, 300 miler, but he's playing hurt from that big wreck he had in qualifying.
That was just a battle for 11th we were looking at with Mark Martin in the 5 and Kyle Busch in the 18 car. This is a battle for 16th between Montoya in the 42, Tony Stewart in the 14 car. Tony started back in the 26th position.
Seeing those two guys run together, I got to say hi to my buddy Dario Franchitti from Franklin, Tennessee, by the way. Congratulations on winning the Indy 500 today, buddy. Bring that money back to Tennessee.
He didn't just win it, he dominated the race.
I never saw a car as good as that one all day long. Flawless.
Chip Ganassi, there's a look at Kurt Busch, who drives for Roger Penske, the other super team of that IZOD IndyCar series.
Got to give Ganassi a big tip of the hat, Mike. Wins the Daytona 500. Now he's won the Indy 500 in the same year. That's a pretty big deal right there.
Yeah, even though Roger Penske has 15 Indy 500 wins, he's never done the same in the same year.
7th place, Jimmy Johnson on the outside of Denny Hamlin. There's a good chance that when we come down to Homestead in November, these could be the two that are fighting for the Sprint Cup championship. Matt?
Mikey had a great run going here a year ago until the rain came and shuffled the finishing order, but Hamlin says his car is tight at this point, but he also is reporting there might have been something on the grill. Temperatures look okay, and it really hasn't affected the handling, but the spotters we're keeping an eye on.
Now back at 9th place and 10th. Two other teammates holding station. Clint Boyer there in the Cheerios car and the Cat car for Jeff Burton, both Chevrolets. Boyer's trying to become only the 3rd driver in NASCAR history to win a race on his birthday. Happy birthday, Clint.
I'll tell you something else. Happy birthday to Clint is right, but our leader is already lapping cars at the back of the field here, just under 30 laps. That's how fast that 2 car is right now.
But you know, talking about Jeff Burton in the 31 car, I don't know that we talked a lot about him in the pre-race, but Darrell and I watched him yesterday. 600 miles here at Charlotte Motor Speedway is a Jeff Burton type of a race. Patience and thinking things out over the long haul.
Kurt Busch just put a lap on past Sprint Cup champ Bobby Labonte. You see the flag on the car. And also, it's lap 29, and they wanted us to remember the miners.org, a benefit for the Upper Big Branch Fund, founded by West Virginia basketball coach Bob Huggins and the families of the miners that were lost. So they're represented on the car, as is the GI Bill this week for Bobby Labonte. Kurt Busch is your leader by 3 seconds over Ryan Newman and David Rudiman. Pride in exhibition during today's pre-race. A pride we all share, being able to live in this great country and spend our holiday weekends at places like this. Watching Kurt Busch leading Ryan Newman. The lead has shrunk by 10%. 2.7 seconds. Newman continues to have his hands full of David Rudiman for second. And they have company.
Hello.
Just turned 20 years old, Joey Logano.
Been watching him, man. This little car is looking good. It's got that magic Gibbs setup in it. Every time I think about this racetrack, I always think about how good the Gibbs cars get around this racetrack.
And that was your pick as a driver to make the championship.
I like the maturity of this kid, Larry. He just keeps getting more and more confident. interviews, talking about his car, talking to Zippy. I really like how he's matured.
Take us for a ride around, Darrell.
Yeah, you can see he's coming off turn 4 here. He's got a little traffic up ahead of him, but right by the start-finish line, you got to let it swing out all the way to the edge of the wall right there. He's going to run the bottom. Got that left side tire right down on that white line. There's a little dip getting into 1. He got through that fine, a little tight off at 2. Get a little draft off the car in front of him there. That's Jimmy Johnson. He's going to run the high side on this end of the racetrack, which makes every bit of sense to me. It's still a little hot and slick on this end. Get up there high and then bring her off the corner. Don't get into that outside wall. Nice lap.
And Mike, when you think about it, Joey ran a Nationwide Series race, one of several drivers that did double duty. That's 900 miles of racing here in 2 days in hot, humid weather.
Larry, I said something about that, and somebody said, you forgot what it was like when you were 20, didn't you? I was that same way. Race where?
14 drivers did double duty. Rudiman is relentless. He keeps going after Ryan Newman. Just can't complete the pass. And again, he can't get up in front of Newman.
And that's that don't get frustrated thing with somebody right now. Be patient. You're working the bottom. He's working the top. You'll finally slide by him.
Matt?
Mike, we're about 10 laps away from the first scheduled pit stop, and Ryan Newman says a 39 Army Chevrolet just way too tight early on. They're going to make a track bar adjustment when he hits pit road for that first stop.
And I will say the information I've been gathering in these first 40 laps, that seems to be the general consensus, is a lot of the cars are tight. They're not turning. In other words, the driver's turning the steering wheel, but the front wheels aren't responding. They're just sliding up the racetrack.
Well, the opposite of that would be loose, where the back end's going to come around, and that's something that you worry about start of these races over here particularly. Track hot, slick, not a lot of grip. You don't want to be loose. You don't want to back it up in the fence.
Speaking of backing up, Jeff Gordon started 15th. He has slid back to 23rd and is 4th among the Hendrick cars. Wasn't particularly quick in practice, but we usually don't pay much attention to that because, Darrell, he focuses on comfort in that car during practice, not necessarily all-out speed.
All during practice, he was over in the 30s and 40s on speed. But when they got ready to qualify, he stepped it up a little bit. But this car has not been that good over here all weekend.
Third place. Joey Logano trying Ryan Newman on the low side.
It's just so hard to complete that pass. When that car like Newman in the 39 stays up against the wall, yeah, his car may not be driving that good, but see when he picks the throttle up, how he just keeps it wound up and actually pulls you a little bit on the exit of the corner.
Kurt Busch, your leader at 43 laps. David Rudiman, Ryan Newman. Here comes Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. The teammates who seem to fuel each other's desires.
That was teammates working together right there. You're a little faster than me. I'll move over and let you go by. Don't expect that at the end of the day, though.
Kurt Busch has opened it up. His lead on David Rudiman right now, 3.1 seconds after 43 laps.
The Coca Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, by the all-new 2011 Super Duty built for tough, by DirecTV for the most sports period, and by GoDaddy.com, domains, websites, and everything in between.
At 48 laps, a lot of the Fords come to pit road. Allmendinger, Elliott Sadler, Matt Kenseth, Biffle. Here's Steve.
Like Casey Kane in the 9 car, saying that car in the track very, very slippery. They're going to take air out of the front tires and go down on the track bar. Juan Pablo Montoya said his car isn't doing much of anything. He can't get it to turn, and it's also loose off. Big changes for Juan Pablo.
Edwards, Menard, Keselowski also on pit road. Montoya in. Matt?
And Keselowski comes to a stop. His car started to go tight near the end of that run. And the 11 of Denny Hamlin, who will be pitting right behind the 12 of Keselowski. His car was tight early on. They were talking about what changes to make to that FedEx Toyota. His guy's still up on the wall. They go to work. They were talking about a chassis adjustment. Look to see. They do indeed. They're going to make a wedge adjustment. You see the gas man make the adjustment. Scott Wood. Good stop so far. And the 29 of Kevin Harvick coming in. He said his balance was great early on. He just couldn't go anywhere, lack of speed. But then he said the car was tight from the center, loose on exit. at least an air pressure change. Steve.
Matt, Jimmy Johnson said not only is his car loose, it gets snappy loose. So they make a chassis adjustment. 4 tires is the call for the 48 team. Extremely loose.
Boyer, Dale Jr. in, Jamie McMurray leaving, Regan Smith coming in. Here's Kurt Busch in the pit lane along with David Rudiman, Mark Martin, and Hornish, who missed pit road the first time around. Matt?
And a great stop by the Army guys. Ryan Newman said the biggest hindrance he had was turn 4. Significant track bar adjustment. Dick Bergeron.
Been on pit road. He has run some of the Krista.
Only change. Air pressure, the only change for the number 2. 4-tire stop for Kurt Busch.
Jeff Burton getting service. Kyle Busch.
Mike, I'm not surprised if 48 was snappy loose. Remember in practice, they were fighting that same problem in practice with that car.
Dick.
Joey Logano's crew had expected that they weren't going to be all this fast at the beginning of the race. They wanted to let the racetrack come to them later in the event. But so far, so good. Krista.
Martin Truex bringing his car in that said the tires are hurting for grip, and air pressure, the only chassis adjustment, no chassis adjustment for the 56. Steve.
Tony Stewart gets a chassis adjustment. He too complaining of a loose race car. 4 tires, chassis adjustment. These guys really struggling to hang on with this slick track.
Tony Stewart had a wild slide getting onto pit road. Not many folks could have saved that car and brought it down to pit road speed. He did.
In about 5 laps, we cycled through those green flag stops. Tony Stewart here in the 14 was the last one to pit. Kurt Busch in the 2 now has the lead again.
Larry, but didn't you think it was kind of fascinating, really, that every Ford pitted on the same lap?
Yeah, and they were the first cars to hit pit road. Everybody hit it a little early, but again, I don't know that everybody had a great feel for their fuel mileage.
Watch this. That's Stewart getting onto pit road and getting down to pit road speed.
And evidently he was okay as far as entering pit road. But, you know, I couldn't help but think about when Krista talked about Martin Truex Jr. in the 56 car, she mentioned the word grip. Remember, our FedEx understanding the race, we talked about it. That's what the cars will need now in the sunlight, more grip front and rear.
Riding with Martin Truex, he's the 9th place car. Started this race in 3rd, and I think had that all-star race gone another 5 laps, he and this man would have had quite a battle for that $1 million. This is Kurt Busch, our leader.
We're going to have to keep track of the exit.
Now here's a battle right now for the 3rd spot. Joey Logano in the 20 goes by Casey Kane in the 9, but I think Casey Kane in that 9 car, he was the real winner on those green flag stops. But remember, he was one of the first cars to hit pit road, get advantage of those fresh tires.
And right now what he's doing is driving a really, really smart race. No need in holding Joey Logano up right now. Move down, let Joey go, fall in, and run behind him a while.
That's the Californian David Gilliland on the outside in the 37 as they try to keep up with 3rd place Joey Logano. Kurt Busch back in the lead with Rudiman 2nd, Logano, Casey Kane, and Jimmy Johnson the top 5.
You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
I can't see it there.
Look at the damage on the left front of Juan Montoya's Chevrolet. Coming off turn number 2, the car snapped loose, spun down to the bottom of the racetrack and into the wall, Darrell.
Let's see if we can maybe has a soft tire here. No, I think it just gets out from under him. Cars are a little loose up off the corner over there. I don't believe it was a tire issue, Mike. I believe he just lost it.
He was running roughly about the 16th position. Boy, Greg Biffle in that 16 right behind him when that happened. Close call.
You see the tires blowing as the car slides down the racetrack, but I don't believe he had a tire down.
Montoya has been one of the fastest cars here.
Off the left front, Brian. On pit road.
Over the last
4 tires right now. Let's look at it.
Over this last week and a half. Would have been on the pole for the showdown. That qualifying got rained out. Had a chance to win that. Car been quick in practice, but tough luck in the race.
Looking at the car, though, I believe if they can get that splitter fixed on the left front, the tires didn't hit the wall. The nose of the car up there did. I believe they can get this car fixed.
Free pass will go to Elliott Sadler in the U.S. Air Force number 19. And for the first time in the Coke 600, we'll see the implementation of NASCAR's new double file restart rule and the new rule that allows lapped cars that do not pit. If all the lead lap cars do pit, those lap cars will be able to take the wave around and get a lap back.
And I think what we'll see here, it's been anywhere in hitting. Juan Montoya is going to the garage area with the 42 car. I heard Brian Patty say change the tires, we'll go there. It's been about 9 to 12 or 13 laps since those green flag stops. I think everyone will come to pit road, but I think we'll see some people test the waters and go with just 2 right side tires here.
Might even just get a little gas. I mean, just hadn't been that long since on pit road.
There's a commit cone at the end of that yellow line. That's where you must declare your intention. And a lot of those lead lap cars are coming in. Dick?
Well, David Rudiman plans on taking 2 tires and a minor chassis adjustment in order to help him get through the middle of the corner better. Steve.
Dick Jimmy Johnson saying the car in that short run was getting better. They'll make a chassis adjustment, and they're going to try to give him something to drink. Kristen.
They talked about taking 4 for Kurt and a track bar adjustment. They changed their mind. No adjustment, 2 tires. Matt?
Kyle Busch's team talking 2 tires. The 39 of Ryan Newman's team, they're going 2 tires as well.
The leader will be Denny Hamlin. That was the first of the lead lap cars that chose not to pit, and I believe Hamlin was the only lead lap car not to make a stop here at lap 63.
56 cars up 6 spots. He took fuel only.
We'll see how that strategy plays out when we come back. Is the fastest lap so far. For more NASCAR stats, in-car audio, live race radio, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile at sprint.com/speed. The free pass car was Elliott Sadler. Taking the wave around were Robbie Gordon, Bill Elliott, Kevin Conway, and David Gilliland back on the lead lap.
And documented, Martin Truex Jr. and Greg Biffle pitted for fuel only. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick, Keselowski, Gordon, and Allmendinger 4 tires. Everyone else just 2 rights on that pit stop.
Drive of the race so far, Paul Menard from 31st to 11th. There's Menard in that bright yellow number 98 as we get the green flag with 66 laps complete, 100 miles.
Now, Kurt Busch got beat at the start of this race because pole sitter Ryan Newman in the 39 chose the outside. Now, Denny Hamlin in the 11 was on the bottom. Kurt Busch gets that run off of turn 2 that time.
Car just wants to be out front, Larry. He just got it hooked up and he's going on.
And that's not the same car that he won the All-Star race. This is a brand new race car for that group.
Bit of a 6-car breakaway, so here come teammates battling. Martin Truex in the 56. David Rudiman, the 00. 2 Toyotas fight for the 3rd spot in turn 3.
Watch when you're all bunched up like this side by side. We've seen time and time again, somebody will get the car on the outside, will suck a car on the inside around.
You know, Darrell, when I think about Martin Truex Jr. in the 56, and we talked about Greg Biffle in the 16 as well, pitting but fuel only, I think when the racetrack cools down, you can get by with that because it's going to have more grip. No tires even versus 2 right side. That's a pretty tall order as slick as this track is.
Well, if you're happy with the tires on the car and you've only got what, 7 or 8 laps on them, I think it's a good call.
9th place race, Kyle Busch in the 18, Jeff Burton in the 31, and Jamie McMurray in the 1 just went by. All went by the Budweiser 4 to Casey Kane, the number 9. Kurt Busch trying to give this field the goodbye look. He's got half a second on Hamlin, who has a full second on Rudiman. And here comes that boy Joey Logano again against Truex. 5th place here.
And Clint Boyer in the 33 wanting to follow Joey Logano by Martin Truex Jr. He'll have to fall back in behind the 56 of Truex.
It's easy pickings when your car will work on the bottom like that 20 is. If a guy's up there high, I know he's making time up there, but if you can run that bottom and get through the center of the corner in the throttle, you're going to be able to pass them pretty easy.
Single file there. Burton with a run, looking all over the back of Kyle Busch. With McMurray up high. And Regan Smith, trouble turn 4. He saved it.
Wow. Boy, they are splitting him left and right as he's gathering it back up down the front straightaway in that 78 car, Regan Smith.
He's got a slight bit of damage on the right rear quarter panel.
Well, he was just flat sideways, Darrell, through turn number 4. And what a job of hanging on.
That's that dirt track thing I was talking about.
You'll see him come into the picture from the right.
Oh, yeah, he's right here. I mean, he is just sideways sliding through that corner.
You know, Darrell, it almost had the look that he was obviously loose. The back end was wanting to come around, and then that 12 car, Brad Keselowski, was out there. That almost pulls it around even more.
Oh, yeah. When you get side by side in these cars, that one on the outside has got his hands full hanging on.
Wow. Speaking of hands full, Ryan Newman in that 39 had his hands full with Kyle Busch in the 18 right up against him on the exit of the corner.
You saw what happened. You lose your momentum here for whatever reason. And it's not just one car is going to pass you.
That's why they call it freight train, Mike. You get freight train.
You know, looking at Kurt Busch in this 2 car, we've watched him all week long out here practicing, qualifying, and I think because of his record here in the Coca Cola 600, we were all reluctant to pick him. His best finish here is 11th in the Coca Cola 600, but even though we got a long way to go, they're on their mark right now.
Well, he won Atlanta. He's won at Texas, and these racetracks, Atlanta, Texas, Charlotte, all very, very similar.
6th place battle. Clint Boyer going past Martin Truex. Catch up on cars in the garage and out of the race. Dave Blaney, Michael McDowell, Johnny Sauter, Todd Bodine, Joe Nemechek, and Juan Pablo Montoya's car under repair in the garage.
You know, one of the biggest movers, we talked about him earlier, Jamie McMurray, in this 1 car, started back in the 27th position. He has now cracked the top 10. Good run for him, but Steve, not so good for his teammate Montoya.
Larry, they're hard at work trying to get this car back in the race. They're reattaching the rear deck lid. One of the biggest problems they have is the splitter has been torn off, and they're having to put another one on with braces. So a lot of damage to this 42 for Juan Pablo Montoya.
Thanks, Steve. Kyle Busch battling Truex. Travis Kvapil just made an unscheduled pit stop.
That 18 car, Mike, they've
letting you go. We're trying to talk.
they made some very nice adjustments on that car on this last pit stop. It has really picked up, and he's starting to go forward.
Jeff Burton trying to follow him up through. Burton in the 31. Nope, falls in line behind Truex.
You know, real quick, back to Steve's report on Montoya in the garage area. I know in the pre-race, Jeff Hammond's pick of a driver that wouldn't make the chase this year that made it last year was Casey Kane. I think Steve just talked about the other one that might not make it this year that made it, and that's Montoya.
Yeah, they've been flirting with, you know, getting themselves not even in the picture. Today is not going to help one bit.
Jeff Burton in the 31, a 2-time winner of the 600. Passes Martin Truex for 8th place. Move it on up. Kurt Busch leads Denny Hamlin by 0.8 of a second, with David Rudiman 1.2 back and Jimmy Johnson 2.2 off the leader. $150 from the then largest purse in NASCAR history, $107,000.
And Bruton Smith and Curtis Turner, who built this racetrack, the reason they made it a 600-mile race, Mike, was because they wanted it to be bigger than Indy. You know, Indy had a lot of influence on our sport early on, us wanting to be bigger than they are.
The shape of the track is the same, but an awful lot has changed since that day in June 1960. Kurt Busch out front in a Dodge, Denny Hamlin, David Rudiman Toyotas, Jimmy Johnson Chevrolet, and the Toyotas of Logano, and Kyle Busch has climbed to 6th place. Let's catch up on the 2nd place car, Matt.
Mike, all 3 Gibbs cars running in the top 6. Denny Hamlin, his car was tight early on. Didn't hit on that last caution. So the car is much better, especially now when he's down in the shady parts of the racetrack. So this racetrack continues to come to him as the sun continues to set.
You know, Mike, you talked about that purse that Jolie Johnson got for winning this race. Tonight, the winner, a minimum of about $340,000 to win.
And this guy here, I think he's going to end up running about 650 miles tonight. Because I'm telling you, he moves around on the racetrack. He's been absolutely out against the outside wall all the way around the racetrack. And you just saw him kiss it just a little bit, or tried to right there. But he has been rim riding around this racetrack.
But Mike, remember, that's one of the guys that you and I talked about in the pre-race, a guy to watch. Greg Biffle in 16 started back in the 40th position, told us on Friday that he knew he had a good race car. They just kind of stepped on their toe in qualifying.
But you saw that car snap a little bit as it corner exit. That's why running the high line's a little easier. When you crank that thing hard left and run around the bottom there, back in the throttle, the back end, the front will push a little bit, and then the back will snap out. And that's what makes running the bottom so difficult.
His Roush Fenway teammate gave way, and Biffle moved up a spot. Here's another of those Roush Fords, the 99 of Carl Edwards, going past our pole sitter. That's for 11th place.
And remember, Carl Edwards started back in the 29th spot. This is a backup car. He crashed in practice before qualifying on Thursday. They did get a little practice in before qualifying, though, with this backup.
And really, that's pretty impressive when you think about it, Larry, because that's as good as I've seen this 99 car.
Yeah, doesn't change, though. Every time.
It's really as good as we've seen this 99 car run in quite a while right now in this point of the race.
And he is the highest running Ford right now back there in that 11th spot. He was talking something about Ryan Newman in the 39 there. I'm not sure exactly what he was talking about, though.
I think he was trying to run across his grass, if I heard him right.
You saw Edwards' progression up through the field to where he now sits in 11th. 10th is Jamie McMurray, the Daytona 500 winner. One of the Ganassi drivers, the other, Juan Montoya, in the garage with his car still under.
Oh, trouble down here, guys. Off turn four, the 47 car. Marco Sambros just comes around. Poor guy can't catch a break.
All right, but you got no flash. Keep rolling there.
Boy, if it wasn't for bad luck.
4150. Stay 4150. The leaders is coming off of 4. Stay 4150.
These 2 weeks would have nothing at all for him.
Soft right rear back here. He'd be lucky to get all the way around and that thing not come apart. He better be careful.
See what happened to his Toyota here, Darrell.
We see some right rear damage. He's all by himself. There he is, way up high back over here. You see him, and the car got loose middle of the corner, spun down off the racetrack. Fortunately, no one around to hit him.
The discussion on their team radio was that taking the 2 tires did not work well for them, and there's the result.
But I'm going to tell you who this is a pretty good break for. Pretty impressed with the way that car did. The 11 car, Denny Hamlin, because he did not pit the last time. He was about 10 laps from having to make a green flag stop.
We see Marcos. He just gets loose. Car gets around on him. All that smoke's from staying in the gas, so it won't back up the hill into the wall. Pretty nice job of hanging on to her.
Goodbye Cone, but he did keep it out of the wall and otherwise out of harm's way. His pit is right there, and they said no, go around, and he didn't.
I think this will even things out as we see the commit cone out there in the grass. I'm sure NASCAR will put it back in place before we go back racing. Pit road's open, but I think you'll see everyone take 4 tires this time.
Dick Berggren.
And David Rudiman indeed is going to take 4 tires. The car is tight in the center of the corner, which they blamed on the 2 tire stop last time around. Steve.
Jimmy Johnson says that his car is tight in the center. He's having to wait on it to get in the gas. They've already made an air pressure adjustment. Now they make a chassis adjustment, Krista.
The leader, the only change, air, want to put it back the way they had it to start this race. 4 tires this time for the 2. Matt?
Crew Chief Mike Ford making small adjustments, keeping up with this racetrack on the 11 of Denny Hamlin. This car a tick tight in the center.
A little collision on pit road. Jeff Gordon, Clint Boyer, Joey Logano. Now the leader will be David Gilliland. Gilliland stopped a little earlier, stopped at lap 49. For some reason he decided to stay out. Here's Boyer pulling out right into the path of Jeff Gordon, and Joey Logano had to go to the grass to miss it. We'll take a break. You're watching NASCAR on Fox from Charlotte.
And this is my favorite position, jackman. And I was taught how to do this by the Hall of Famer Junior Johnson, quite an innovator. Let me show you the trick he taught me. Definitely faster, but NASCAR didn't like it.
Thanks, Jeff. Down in the Nationwide Insurance pit zone. Yeah, NASCAR passed a rule against slinging that jack around the front of the car. The free pass, 77 Sam Hornish, and the wave arounds were Bobby Labonte and also Travis Quapple elected the wave around. So we go to the restart with Jimmy Johnson and Ryan Newman, the front row.
We had 6 cars went with just 2 right side tires, including the front row of Jimmy Johnson, the 48, Ryan Newman, 39. Steve Burns told me they wanted to get that 48 car of Johnson clean air.
Green flag to begin lap 96.
This will be interesting because the 2 has been so strong. Let's see if the 48's got anything for him once he gets up there.
Here comes Kyle, 3 wide, right up the middle.
And you notice his teammate just sort of faded to the left there.
Goes Kurt Busch, turns that thing right to the bottom of the racetrack, side by side off turn 4.
That's what I say, Larry. This is going to be an interesting experiment here. Just don't know if anybody's got anything for the 2 car right now. Whoa, that doesn't look good.
Straight up the middle, Kyle Busch, Rudiman on the bottom, 00, Biffle up top.
Man.
And Kurt Busch was credited with leading that last lap. This one will go to Jimmy Johnson. This will be the 17th consecutive race at Charlotte Motor Speedway that Jimmy Johnson.
Nice work, my man. New leader to 48.
I believe that 18 car is coming though. I believe they got him fixed up.
17 straight race here that Jimmy Johnson has led. But Kyle Busch underneath Ryan Newman. Ooh, little slide there as he got the left sides in the paint.
Well, that's that tough spot right there. When you're down the bottom, got a little wheel cranked in it, they want to get pushy loose, just like you saw him do.
Lane at your door, corner, still there, corner.
Well, that's
Clear.
where you have to be so careful right there because you're coming at the spotter, so you're a little bit on your own right there, late exit of turn 4.
But Larry, he doesn't hesitate. You know, Kyle Busch never hesitates. He believes in his spotter, Jeff Dickerson, and when he says you're pretty close to being clear, that's clear enough for him.
Now we see Denny Hamlin in this 11 car go by Greg Biffle in the 16. That was a battle for 7th. We got the report that Denny Hamlin spun his tires on that restart.
As the evening goes on, we'll see more and more of that. We'll probably have some big mess up here on the front straightaway when we have a restart.
David Rudiman, the 00, last year's winner. Underneath Ryan Newman with Clint Boyer in tow. This is for 4th place.
You know, this is getting Jimmy Johnson down front is a way last week in the All-Star race. It's really helped him get clean air on his car. We're looking at these guys here that they need clean air on their car.
This could be a log jam here, Darrell, because it looks as if Brad Keselowski and that number 12 Dodge is kind of holding up Martin Truex, Greg Biffle, and Jeff Gordon.
But what a job by that race team right there. Remember, they started back in the 43rd position. That's a backup car for Keselowski in the 12 car. And Jay Guy, his crew chief, decided to go with just 2 right side tires that last caution.
And I tell you another guy, that 24 car, Larry, as the sun goes down and the track starts cooling down, he looks like he's coming alive, Dick.
And that is exactly what Jeff Gordon predicted was going to happen on the radio about 50 laps ago, Darrell. The car was handling poorly. He was all the way back in the 25th position, but he and crew chief Steve Letarte went back and forth and assured each other everything would be well when the sun went down.
I think that's that patience you were talking about, Darrell.
Yeah, I never heard any radio, any complaints out of Jeff's radio other than the car was a little tight.
Well, it's hard to be patient when you see Tony Stewart in the 14 rocket past like you're tied to a stump. And here comes McMurray also on the outside working for position. In the first long green flag run of this race, Jeff Gordon went from 15th back to 23rd. Now he's holding station at 13th position.
Well, I don't think his car is there yet, but it's a lot better than it was.
Yes.
And I tell you, somebody else that's following him up through there, our points leader, Kevin Harvick, in that 29 car. Kevin started in the 23rd position. He's sitting there running in the 15th, now battling Gordon for that 14th spot. This has not been one of Kevin Harvick's better racetracks.
No, in fact, he says it's his worst racetrack.
But that race car has been so steady this year. That's why he's our point leader. And he and Gil Martin, they'll work on that, baby. They'll get him up there before the night's over with. And it'll be, what do you say about him, Mike, every week? Mr.
Where did he come from?
He likes that.
Yes, that's what he said in pre-race. Matt?
And hugging that white line as Kevin Harvick does at so many different racetracks. He's a bottom dweller, and you're right, Mike. Statistically, it's his worst racetrack. Only one top 5 finish. Second back in 2001 in this event. Harvick, no changes on that last stop. A very solid performance. The only change they made was a track bar adjustment back on lap 50 because the car was too tight then.
Good battle back here, but second place is heating up as well. Kyle Busch has all but caught his older brother. May have a try at him this lap. And Krista, they're only half a second behind Jimmy Johnson.
Well, Mike, we saw this battle between the Busch brothers last Saturday night in the All-Star event. You mentioned this is a different car for Kurt Busch and his team than they had in that race, but they have the exact same setup. Kurt said he was excited about how it felt from the hot daytime to the cool nighttime. And Steve Addington said their biggest struggle would be surviving and getting through the daytime. They feel like they are best set up when the sun goes down.
Well, they're there then, Krista. And the other thing you got to remember, folks, last Friday night, this young man won the truck race before the All-Star race. Had a shot at winning the All-Star race. He came back yesterday and won the nationwide race. So he should win tonight. I call that a clean sweep.
Yes, it would be. Here's Paul Menard and Mark Martin moving up on Brad Keselowski. That will move Menard up to 16th and Martin to 17th. A.J. Allmendinger looking in the 43. Made a lot of changes to that car in the last pit stop, and they needed to. He was way loose on the prior run.
Yeah, A.J. Allmendinger, the 43, had worked his way up into the top 15 before we got into some of those pit stops. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. here in the 88 car, he's in the 21st position. Krista, he started 24th, and this is about where he's been the whole race.
Yeah, Larry, they've really just been trying to keep up with the adjustments. Dale Jr. started the race. Of course, that car was pretty good, but real loose off, especially turn 2. So when they came in and made some adjustments, then they got tight in the center. What has he said most recently? Chattering the tires in the center of turns 1 and 2.
That 9 car is the one I can't believe, Larry. I don't know what they did to it. Do you know, Burns?
Well, Darrell, I can tell you what Casey Kane said. They did take 4 tires on the last stop. He's describing his front tires as like a dysfunctional family. He said the left front isn't working and the right front doesn't like it.
Oh, that's funny right there.
We put the fun in dysfunctional, right?
Well, I tell you what, these two brothers, this battle will not go away. And what's amazing, they are battling like this, and Jimmy Johnson in the 48, our leader, is not really pulling away from him. You can see him, the distance right there.
Matt on the 3rd place car.
And Dave Rogers, Mike, methodically keeping this race car ahead of this changing racetrack. The last stop, just a slight track bar adjustment. Kyle said that he wanted a Ziploc bag of ice on the next stop. Very hot inside that cockpit. 600 miles here tonight in Charlotte.
You know, Mike, as I see these two brothers battle like this, I can't help but think a few years ago in the All-Star race in May, where they got together and wrecked each other. They quit speaking to each other. They got to Thanksgiving, and their grandmother said, listen, you two, you are not messing my Thanksgiving up. You two will work this out. Took grandmother to get them straightened out.
I don't know, Larry.
Better get her on the phone, Larry.
Larry, it's 5 months to Thanksgiving.
And I know, but I think we may have to have another meeting. This is getting pretty heated. And what happens here is Kyle will get aggravated with Kurt because Kyle thinks that I've caught you, I'm under you, let me go, quit racing me. And that's where the aggravation sets in.
Well, how'd you ever feel when your brother passed you?
You know, there was times when I was okay with it, but not very often.
Right.
Depending on what part of the race.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson cruising with a 1-second advantage, Steve.
Funny conversation between Jimmy Johnson and Chad Canals. Jimmy said this car is sketchy. It was tight and then it got loose and then it's starting to get looser. And Chad Canals said, good, that's good. Jimmy said, if you say so.
Now, that's what I was saying about early in the race. You got to know that my car isn't very good, but it's a heck of a lot better than everybody else's. And oh, by the way, sketchy, that's a word my girls use all the time, and I never have figured out what it meant.
You can join errands in support of the Armed Forces Foundation. Text AFF to 50555 to make a $10 contribution to provide vital support to America's military and their families. David Rudiman running in fourth behind Jimmy Johnson, Kurt and Kyle Busch. And this has sorted out for the moment, but it got a little nervous during commercial. Kyle got quite a bit loose. And Kurt came right back up on him and took the spot back. Second place.
That was sketchy. I think I know what sketchy is now. That was it.
But you know, now that they have settled down and Kurt Busch and the two's taken the lead or taken second place away from his brother, these guys are a little bit quicker than our leader Jimmy Johnson in that 48.
Now my buddy Biffle here, man, he's got the brake rotors glowing red. He is all over this car is all over the place. He's on the bottom a couple laps and then he'll go around the top, and I mean, I'm talking the top.
Big fight for 13th here as
look at him out there, Larry. Sorry, Mike.
Right.
That's exactly where he was for 2 practices yesterday.
He is out there, baby.
Well, he's not the only one. In turns 1 and 2, Jimmy Johnson has now found that high line. So is Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Robbie Gordon. There's a bunch of them running up top. Bobby Labonte just made an unscheduled pit stop in the 71. Came back out.
You know, one of the things that I think may be a factor in the way these guys are running this track, when they repaved this racetrack, you know, the asphalt we're accustomed to using back in the day, you know, a lot of aggregate and sand, and this has a lot of polymer in it. And I think it's a little bit more grippier, not just in the groove, but everywhere. I think that's one reason why these guys are able to use the whole racetrack as well as they have.
2006 is when this track was last repaved. Dick?
Well, Joey Logano has dropped out of the top 5 and then some, Mike. He is now in the 13th position. The chassis has gone away on him. Said the car is sliding around. It's just real loose. Now, that kid does not like a loose race car.
Trying to hold off both Harvick and Biffle. That's a tall order for the young man from Connecticut.
That last round of pit stops it hurt more guys than it helped them, I think. I mean, we've seen a number of cars, the 20 kind of going backwards, the 9 going backward. Number of cars that just didn't make the right changes.
Well, I think much to our surprise and probably theirs too, as I talked about in the beginning, a lot of these cars were shoving the nose. They were turning the steering wheel and the front wheels were sliding. I'm sure a lot of them freed their car up. Now I think now that the track's gaining grip, the cars are too loose. The back end's coming around.
You know, I had a couple of guys tell me, though, Larry, it's kind of odd. They said if your car is tight when the sun's out, it's just not as tight. It's still tight when the sun goes in. And when the car is loose, it's just not as loose, but it's still loose.
Jeff Hammond.
Mike, we've been listening to some of the driver conversation down here, and we caught Jeff Gordon talking to his crew chief, telling him that, look, I can't tell you exactly what my car is doing, but if you can listen in on the 16 of Greg Biffle, his car is doing the same thing mine is. Greg Biffle right up in front of that 24 car, trying to give maybe his guys a little bit more information about how to fix this 24. So the car is very twitchy, sliding around one lap, and then all of a sudden losing the back end the next.
I'll be dead gum if I'd be listening to the 16, because he's running what, Larry? Back there in 12th place. I believe I'd be checking with that 48 car if it's me, because he's up there leading the race.
5th place just changed hands. Denny Hamlin moving past Clint Boyer.
Oh, there you go. I can see clearly now.
Reagan has the UPS Ford in 19th, about 17 seconds off the lead. 7th place battle here. Jeff Burton, Jamie McMurray going at it. Advantage McMurray. They're all chasing Jimmy Johnson. The 4-time Sprint Cup champion has a lead of 0.7 of a second.
Hey, who's our best presentation guy?
Carl.
I thought you said Carl was our best presentation guy.
Well, he is.
Last week, he told my team about FedEx Office print online for our presentations.
We upload it to FedEx Office, then they print, bind, and ship it. Presentation looks good, right?
Well, yes, but...
You didn't actually bring Carl with you.
Good morning. But I digress.
We understand.
The Coca Cola 600 on Fox is sponsored by Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
133 laps, 200 miles complete at Charlotte Motor Speedway. 2 laps ago, Kyle Busch drove into the lead in front of his brother and Jimmy Johnson, who slipped to third. Here's the pass.
We're on the outside, got that momentum off the corner, and you can get a lot of straightaway speed by running off that corner high like that.
But I think we got the report that the 48 car Jimmy Johnson was getting loose, and it didn't look like he was getting off the corner, which hurts him all the way down the back straightaway.
You know, Larry, I made this observation about that 48 car. That car is bad fast every time, everywhere we go. But that's not an easy race car to drive, I don't believe. I mean, it runs so on the edge all the time. And I think that's a big tribute to Jimmy Johnson, that he can perform at the level he does in that car as loose as it normally is.
He's about to surrender third place to last year's winner of the 600, David Rudiman.
And we're getting within about 10 to 12 laps of what will be scheduled green flag pit stops.
Now, Greg Biffle's car is sponsored by a company that makes bandages. Good thing. Look at the right side of Biffle's car here.
It's a little snappy loose right there on corner exit.
But Darrell, you could see he had those right side tires above that black, and there's just no grip right there.
You just can't, you know what, I mean, that's the first time he's really hit the wall. You can't get away with that. Sooner or later, that thing's going to hit that wall, bite into it, and cause you to tear the whole right side out of it. Hammond and I were talking about Biffle before the race, and Jack felt like Jack Rouse felt like he had a really fast race car.
Really nice, but E12 right there, doing good.
But he was a little bit worried about the line that Greg runs around the racetrack.
So the complexion of this race has changed with the Busch brothers out front. Kyle leading for the first time tonight. Kurt in second. David Rudiman now third. And Jimmy Johnson has dropped to fourth. Steve.
And Mike, I think the track's starting to go through a big transition. I thought I heard Jimmy Johnson say the car's getting tighter and tighter, so I checked with Ron Malik, the crew chief, and he nodded his head. They're going to stop at about 7 or 8 laps.
And when I said that the 48 car is a hard car to drive, I just mean that Jimmy, the way they run the car, the way Jimmy likes the car's usually real free, and that's hard to hang on to.
Transitioning from daylight to twilight.
Well, let's pick up on our FedEx understanding the race. Remember, we talked about the different conditions. We talked about what it was like when they dropped the green flag. In the daylight, you can see right here in the twilight, the air temperature is down to 82 degrees. Track temp down almost 20 degrees to 100 degrees. Now, track conditions, the track is starting to gain some grip with it cooling down. And right now, this is where your car needs to be free up. You also need to get pretty aggressive with adjustments right here.
See, Tony Stewart, he's just pulled a tear off of his helmet. Still got a ways to go here. He's still a pretty dark colored shield on there with the tear offs. But you'll see that thing be perfectly clear here before long. See it flapping on that's the tear off, that he's still got a couple more on there.
Tony in ninth. He's got about a half a second on Joey Logano.
We just always use sunglasses. We'd start the race with a little pair of sunglasses. When it got a little bit, when the sun went down, we'd take them off, throw them over the floorboard, and they'd lay over there and cook all night.
Or you'd start with a pair of those old bubble goggles. You can see a pair of those at the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
A couple pair of those strapped to your helmet.
Juan Montoya is back in the race. As you have a look at Dale Jr., they completed repairs at lap 130, so he's been back out for the last 10 circuits. And here's Dale Jr. with a clear face shield. Hard at work in 24th place.
You know, Montoya is 60-some laps down here, but you know, Dale Earnhardt, the first-time senior, the first time he ran the Coke 600, he finished the race, he was 45 laps down.
And the problem with Dale Earnhardt Jr. is he's only about 5 seconds from being lapped by our leader, Kyle Busch, at 18.
And you want to know how tough this race is, and particularly back then, he stopped late in the race to get a drink of water.
Wow. Lap 92 was the last pit stop, so get ready for the next one with an AT&T race break. Here's Chris and Jeff.
Thanks, Mike. Kyle Busch ahead of Kurt Busch. And, of course, Kurt Busch so good on this type of track, Jeff. His last 3 wins, similar layouts. Atlanta and then Atlanta of the previous year, Texas last fall.
Well, I think right now Kurt Busch is settled into saying, okay, brother, you want to lead this race, go ahead. I think you're going to see him just kind of play a little cat and mouse, kind of keep his car into what I consider comfort zone, make the right adjustments as we go along. You've already heard about Larry and Darrell talking about as we go into twilight, making the proper adjustments. And some teams need to make big swings. I look for them to make, pulling rubbers out, maybe putting a rubber in, bigger adjustments to the track bar, Chris, to try to get their cars back in the hunt early on, because they can't afford to keep losing ground. Take a look right here at Jimmy Johnson, currently 4th. This is one of the guys, and his crew chief, I think, do the best job of making the right adjustments at the right time.
Jimmy Johnson, remember, dominated Dover, leading 225 laps, but had the speeding penalty on pit road. Led the most laps of the All-Star race, but spawned late. So do those things enter the mental part of this race, knowing there's a long haul to go, 400 miles?
It better not be. You better be focused on what you're doing today. Don't worry about what happened in the past. We take a look here at Jamie McMurray. Ganassi racing his best hope for us getting the victory lane this afternoon and doing basically the double here Memorial Day weekend, and winning the Indy 500 and coming back and winning the prestigious Coca Cola 600.
Yeah, Jamie McMurray with Chip Ganassi in that Indy and Daytona 500 as we get ready for pit stops. Cast your vote all season long for the AT&T fastest pit crew of the year as Greg Biffle comes in. Your AT&T phone is where you want to text to 2258, delivered by AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. And let's check in with Steve Burns.
Chris, Greg Biffle in his 16 saying that his car is still a little bit loose. Matt.
The 43 of Allmendinger's in, as well as the 12 of Keselowski. He pulls to a stop. He was running 9th, took 2 tires for track position, but then started to drop all the way to 19th. His car way loose on entry and extremely loose on exit.
Tony Stewart's in, Ryan Newman to the pit lane. All the Hendrick cars coming, along with Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth, Elliott Sadler. Matt.
The Army car started on the pole, then made a track position 2-tire stop earlier on, and then the car started to falter. They're going to go back on their adjustments. Tony Gibson's going to shuffle the air pressures. 4 tires on this stop. Ryan didn't want them to go too big on their adjustment, wanting to see how the car felt in the twilight with 4 tires.
Martin Truex is in, Harvick, Menard, Casey Kane, Regan Smith. Krista.
You guys mentioned big changes. How about this for taking a swing? The 56 is going to go up on the track bar. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds. Matt.
Harvick hit pit road in the 14th position. His car tight on this last run. Air pressure changed for the 29.
Marcus Ambrose, Clint Boyer, Joey Logano, and Jeff Burton pitting. Steve.
Clint Boyer into the 33. Now earlier his car was loose. Now he's saying tight in and tight from the center off. They'll make air pressure adjustments to the left side. Car has gotten tight.
Robbie Gordon, Kyle Busch, along with Sam Hornish and Jimmy Johnson, all making pit stops. Matt.
A track bar change, 2 stops ago for Kyle Busch. Dave Rogers was asking, what do you want this stop, wedge or track bar? He called from the cockpit. He wanted a track bar change on the 18. A little too free, Steve.
Matt Chessie adjustment for Jimmy Johnson, and this time he takes 4 tires. The last 2 stops, they've taken 2. Then his car had gotten tight.
Bill Elliott, Kurt Busch, David Rudiman coming to the pit lane, along with David Gilliland and Denny Hamlin. Dick.
David Rudiman asked the crew to take the adjustment out of the back end that they had put in the last time. He has run in the top 5 all night. Rudiman with a strong car. Krista.
Kurt Busch is a little tight in, little loose off. Steve Addington said, let's make a small track bar adjustment. Kurt Busch said, I like the way that sounds.
Kevin Conway makes his stop, waiting on the leader, Jamie McMurray. He will be the last of the cars in this sequence to pit. Here he comes toward Dick Bergman.
Well, Jamie McMurray's big worry, Mike, is that he has got a problem with the tachometer. On the last pit stop, it flashed yellow-red. Those colors tell a driver whether he is speeding or not on pit road. They also had a pit stop last time around they weren't at all happy with, so they're looking for more speed this time on McMurray, car number 1.
Now his owner, Chip Ganassi, has a chance to do the Memorial Day triple He won the Indy 500 earlier today. If McMurray wins, Ganassi is favored at Lime Rock Park tomorrow in the Grand Am Daytona prototype. Scott Pruitt, Memo Rojas going for their 4th win in a row. So it's already a big weekend for Chip Ganassi. Could get a lot bigger.
Well, and already he's won the Daytona 500 and the Indy 500 in the same year. That is amazing, guys.
Doesn't get any better than that.
That's incredible.
Now that it's cycled through the green flag pit stops, this is a battle for 3rd. We're riding with Jimmy Johnson in the 48, looking back at David Rudeman. But who the real winner was on that cycle of green flag stops? Our leader, Kyle Busch, up by 6 seconds over Brother Kurt.
All right, buddy, give you about the tug here. Long day here, buddy. Green.
157 laps complete in the Coca Cola 600. 243 to go. And Kyle Busch's lead has shrunk by about a second. Older brother Kurt starting to run him down. It's about 5.2 seconds now from Kyle's Toyota back to Kurt's Dodge, then Jimmy Johnson's Chevrolet. And the highest Ford is Greg Biffle. Scrape or not, he's up there in 8th place. Of that lead pack, quickest car on the racetrack right now is Kurt Busch, running just over 30 seconds flat as he chases down the leader, and as Jimmy Johnson in the 48 fills up Kurt's rearview mirror. Jeff Burton and Joey Logano have been going at it all night long. This time it's for 9th place.
And if you don't work on your car every time it comes to pit road, pretty soon you won't be in this race. You have got to constantly be making adjustments on your car to keep up with the racetrack.
And we just had our 2nd set of green flag pit stops, and when it had all cycled out, we talked about Kyle Busch having such a lead. Now what we have here, this will be the 2 laps including the pit stop on pit road. We're going to do a little comparison here. Look at Kyle Busch in the 18 team. 1:43.6 seconds on those 2 laps including the stop. Now remember, he and his brother Kurt Busch, they were racing each other before those green flag stops, and Matt, you can see right there Kyle Busch beat Kurt by 3 seconds on that stop.
Let's get a word with the leader's crew chief. Here's Matt.
And Mike, Dave Rogers took a look at the tires that just came off the 18 machine. We're in the twilight section here. Dave, how much has this racetrack changed since the drop of the green flag to now?
I think we're about to go through our first big transition right here. We set our M&M Toyota camera up really free. Kyle did a good job hanging on to it. We've still been tightening every stop, but I expect to be craning up real soon.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Dave Rogers is new to the top of the pit box for Kyle Busch this year. He came out of the Nationwide Series for Kyle and cut his teeth up at Thunder Road, Ken Squire's little short track in Vermont. As 2nd place is at stake, the deuce of Kurt Busch, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, and the 00 David Rudeman.
Yeah, the 2 just went into second. Well, he's trying to go into 2nd place. It's not a gimme, that's for sure.
While those guys are going side by side, David Rudeman in that 00 that you just mentioned, Mike, look how close he's pulling up to those guys.
Robbie Gordon up top, Sam Hornish on the bottom, and no clear way through for the rest of the leaders.
But Kurt Busch ran that high line through turn 2 off the corner that time, and he prevailed down the back straightaway.
Got a lot of traffic here they're having to work through. But you know, Larry, I think that David Rudeman in that 00 car has got a lot of motivation tonight. I think he really comes in here wanting to prove that, you know, I won this race last year and I'm the defending champion and I'm going to defend my championship.
Of course, that was a rain-shortened race.
Tampa, Florida native, his dad, Buzzy Rudeman, one of the all-time modified greats, as Robbie Gordon just got enough paint off the wall.
Got the wall a little bit, guys, on the right side. Still rolling.
Messed up our camera shot a bit.
But Mike, they just got too much paint on the wall. That's the problem.
That's it.
Dadgum.
Well, we've been watching Robbie Gordon in that 7 car. We're looking at him. He'd been right up against the wall the entire race. It was inevitable when you do that, just like Kurt Busch last Saturday night in the All-Star race, it's eventually just going to suck you right in.
You just have no margin for error, Larry. If the car scoots a little or slides a little, gets a little loose, you're in it. Now, we know this old car is tough. It's resilient. I mean, it'll take a licking down that right side, but you can't bang it around too much.
You see all that work to get past the lap cars has brought the FedEx Toyota up into that group. Denny Hamlin in the 11, right with Jimmy Johnson.
Well, you know, they make metal flake paint. Uh-oh, car going around in the wall.
Slapped it. That's Jimmy Johnson, the 48 car.
The 48 car. And he got it pretty darn good.
Be ready, guys. Be ready.
Got it good.
Ready, guys. Be ready.
Sparks from Denny Hamlin.
And Hamlin's got a problem.
I think maybe he got together with the 48 car. The caution is out. Maybe cut a tire down. So this caution will be a big break for both these guys.
Corner right above the split.
I think we're going to find out that Mr. Johnson's not very happy here with the 11 car.
Third caution of the night, and it comes at lap 166.
Let's see what
Watch
happens.
What
here.
happens?
Here comes the 48. He just gets loose right here, smacks the fence, and that puts the 11 car into the grass. 11 car was trying to avoid the 48 as he was kind of trying to catch it after he hit the wall.
But the question, Darrell, is what got Jimmy Johnson so loose there?
He just look, the car just starts wiggling a little bit with him, and we saw him do that in the All-Star race. He said it was because the car was to his outside. That's my point about that 48 car. It's just a free running race car, and you've got to be on your game.
Now, Larry, you'll see it from Jimmy Johnson, and you look at all that.
And you can hear the RPM go up there, then you can hear him hit the wall.
Don't believe it hurt it much.
Now, what about the damage to the left lower nose of Denny Hamlin's car? Let's ride with Hamlin first.
In front of you. Stay low, stay low, stay low. Clear, clear.
All right, we're under caution. Pit road is open. Dick Berggren.
David Rudiman's car is a little bit loose, hanging out the tail coming off the corner, so they're going to tighten down a little bit of wedge, add some static weight to the left rear corner of this car. Steve.
Jimmy Johnson says that he thinks he has a flat right rear tire, and that's why his car got up into the wall. It looks inflated at this point, but Ron Malik is working on the right rear of the car. Krista?
Kurt Busch said the adjustments on the last stop did not help. This time, 2 tires, Matt.
Right side tires only for Kyle Busch.
Crash.
Oh, crash with the 12.
Kyle Busch coming out of his pit. Brad Keselowski trying to get in. And this is after Kyle almost had a collision with another car trying to get out of his pit stall. Matt's right there.
And the steering wheel, he says, is knocked out. They've got to get the toe sticks out, Mike. Big issues for leader Kyle Busch as well as the 12 of Brad Keselowski. There was also a close call, like you mentioned, with the 43 of Allmendinger.
There's the first close call.
Coming out around the Allmendinger car. Oh, that's a hard hit. That's going to do a lot of damage.
Not only that, but Kyle Busch will be penalized for too fast exiting pit road. And one team had a tire roll across pit road out into the grass.
Boy, did we have a lot changed there in a short time. A lot of damage to the right front on that 18 car, though.
Tire violation was on A.J. Allmendinger's car. And you see a lot of tape and bare bond and sheet metal in use for Keselowski and Jimmy Johnson. We're under caution at Charlotte Motor Speedway in what has been a busy 2 weeks for NASCAR with the All-Star race and the opening of the NASCAR Hall of Fame and the induction first of the founder of NASCAR, Bill France Sr. Of the night, and what a mess.
Gosh almighty.
Collisions on pit road, crashes out on the racetrack. But Jeff Hammond thinks he knows what may have led to the cause of Jimmy Johnson going around to bring this caution out.
Mike, if you take a look right here, they came around on the left side on that previous pit stop, and you see the left rear tire changer reach in. This is one of those big swings we talk about. He pulls a spring rubber, about a half spring rubber, out of that left rear, and a lot of times that will free a car up, and this is exactly what happened to that 48.
Freed her up all right, Jeff.
But you know what, Jeff? What I'm amazed at that is Jimmy had been complaining about his car being twitchy loose, and when you pull that rubber out of that left rear and soften it up, it kind of makes you even looser.
Yeah, I think what they were trying to do is get the car to roll the center and not be so tight. Probably should have put a little wedge in it when they pulled that rubber out, and that would have kind of compromised.
And suddenly problems with all three of the Gibbs cars. Denny Hamlin, damage to the nose and the splitter going through the grass. Kyle Busch, crash on pit road. And there's issues with Logano's car we'll get to in a minute. Getting ready to go green.
Well, about time for a mess up on one of these restarts. That's the next thing we haven't experienced tonight.
Elliott Sadler was the free pass. 6 cars took the wave around, and David Rudiman does not get going. They're going to sandwich him into turn 1.
Paul Menard in that 98, that yellow car, he didn't get going either and really stacked them up in the high line.
Yeah, they were all spinning their tires. It's just a common problem we have here every restart.
Tell you what, we caught a glimpse of that 11 car, Denny Hamlin, that left front corner. Those guys actually did a pretty nice job patching that up above that splitter area.
These guys get crazy when the sun goes down. They start driving like they're in a hurry.
Well, let's get what you can get time on these restarts. And with the wave arounds, we're now back up to 28 cars on the lead lap.
See sparks flying out when that 11.
Well, we saw that when the caution came out. When he went through the grass, Darrell, he did some damage to the undercarriage somewhere.
Yeah, it's something behind, like in the left front tire area, or actually behind the left front.
Looks right about where the jack stop is on the left side.
It might. Oh boy!
Squeeze play.
Does this work? Not very often.
Well, Robbie Gordon takes the hole outside, Bobby Labonte the inside, and the fellow who got squeezed right in the middle there was Travis Kvapil in the 38.
And what that is, that's a bunch of cars that's a lap down trying to be the first car lap down. Should we get a caution, they get the free pass back on the lead lap.
I think something that 11, that might be a piece of that nose that is missing. It's knocked back up on the car and dragging.
Yeah, there's something, like Mike said, behind the left front tire, back in that rocker panel jack peg area.
Because he had
this is a caution waiting to happen right here. Like Darrell likes to say, caution breeds cautions. And somewhere in this pack, we could get another one.
It's kind of my favorite song, Clowns to the left of me and Jokers to the right. And here I am, I'm stuck in the middle.
Big break for Marcus Ambrose. You see his Kingsford car there, the 47. He had a right front tire going down when that caution came out. They found a cut in it. He was lucky not to be part of the Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin dust up.
While we've been watching that, Greg Biffle in that 16 car, and then there's the Indy 500 winning.
There's the happy man right there.
Yeah, buddy. Now in Charlotte.
All right, boys, the magic can begin now. The magic show will start. Let me show you how to do this.
Check that hat. That's the Indy 500 winner's cap. Gotta love it.
He and Dario, they were. I mean, I thought Chip was going to get down in the car with Dario when the race is over with. It was amazing. It was so cool.
Well, there's his one bullet right now that's left maybe as a contender. Jamie McMurray in that one car, the car that won the Daytona 500. He is now in the 8th position with a little bit of heat from Jeff Burton in that 31.
One car is pretty sporty, Larry. I've been watching him. It's not a bad car right now. It's pretty good.
Robbie Gordon hit the wall coming off turn 4. Not the first time today. Probably won't be the last. He likes to run it up high. Dick Berggren.
With Chip Ganassi, congratulations on an Indy 500 win. How do you feel tonight?
I'll tell you, it's unbelievable. I mean, it hasn't really sunk in yet. I heard we have good cars down here. That's why I came down. I guess Juan's had a little problem, but Jamie's going pretty good.
He sure is. Thank you and congratulations.
Great. Thank you very much.
As a young man, Chip Ganassi raced in the Indianapolis 500. Came up out of open wheel sports car racing and got to race at Indy.
Yeah, he told me as a driver, he makes a really good owner. He learned the hard way.
You know, right before we interviewed Chip, we were talking about this group up here. Of course, Kurt Busch in the 2 car still leading this thing, but Greg Biffle in that 16, he has smacked the wall. He started in 40th, and now he's up to the number 2 spot.
Well, last Saturday night, Kurt Busch smacked the wall, said he made the car better. He went all the way to victory lane with it. Maybe that's what you got to do in Charlotte. Second and third have changed. Clint Boyer, birthday boy, is up for second place. And David Rudiman has moved up into third. Rudiman's been a top 5 car all afternoon. And Greg Biffle has now slipped to 4th. What's happened to Biffle, Steve?
Well, right now he's overheating. He's talking to crew chief Greg Irwin. Biffle said the car had gotten, the water temperature, Mike, had gotten as high as 280 degrees. He thinks he has something on the front end, the nose of that race car. That's why he dropped back. He tried to get behind a couple of other cars, but he is he's struggling right now. It's hot.
Well, there's no question this 16 car of Biffle, Greg Irwin, they would love to see a caution.
I think I see a little white piece of something stuck up in the cavity there of between the splitter and the bumper where the radiator air inlet is. That could be what's causing Biffle his problems. You see it right in there.
Yep. Greg, I can't visually see anything, even with the TV help, it's up under the very bottom.
Yeah, that opening is right under that front bumper area, and it definitely looks like there's a little something there. They run as much tape as they can because that really helps the aerodynamics, the front grip of the tires, and you get a little bit of paper on there, you start running too hot.
Jeff Gordon started the night out very lackluster, but for his patriotic paint job. Raced around in the 20s, but now the 4-time champion is up to 5th place.
Every 50 laps, he's moved up 5 spots. He was in the 20th spot, then he was in the 15th, then he's in the 10th, and now he's in the 5th. And I got a feeling he's honing in on the lead.
But guys, I'm pretty impressed with this 98 car of Paul Menard. We saw him spin his tires on that last restart. This is the same car that he and Slugger Labby ran in the Sprint Showdown last week. Finished 4th, worked hard this week to turn it back around. Matt Yoakum, it looks like the more this track gains grip, they're getting better and better.
Continue to climb up the scoreboard. And Larry Mack, you mentioned last week, the Richard Petty Motorsports teams went in different directions, trying to hit on something they felt like Menard's setup was the one to go with. So they all migrated toward what he was running here this weekend. Twice tonight, they've gone with 2 tires. The last stop, they pulled a spring rubber out of the left rear and an air pressure change to free him up. He'd love to do what that guy right in front of him, Jeff Gordon, did. Score his first ever Cup win right here in the Coke 600.
Menard started 31st. Right behind him, Jamie McMurray, the Daytona 500 winner, started 27th. And the young man from Missouri is showing him. He's climbed up here to 7th spot.
And we've had, you know, the last several years over here, we've had first-time winners. You think back to Casey Mears, last year David Rudiman. This 600 miler sometimes falls right into your lap unexpectedly.
Jeff Burton is one of those fellows that you may not see at the front until late in the race. He's been a top 10 car all day for Richard Childress, and he's won the race twice before. Krista?
Yes, he has 3 wins here, 2 in the Coca Cola 600. And yeah, he's one of the guys who knows all about the opportunity comes later in the night. We talked at the start of the show, patience. He is so good at stretching things out and knowing when to get his car right. And it is right now. He's been tight, then loose. He was crazy tight a few runs ago. Right now, loose entry and exit, just a little bit tight in the middle. But as we mentioned, he did not race that all-star race, so he does not have nighttime laps, especially with this new spoiler.
Well, all 3 of the Childress cars are in the top 10. Kevin Harvick, the point standing leader in the Sprint Cup Series, right now is the 9th place car. He is 8 seconds off the lead after starting 23rd.
Harvick's happy about running 9th. He's in mourning over Chris Myers going away.
Yeah,
right. I don't know exactly how to treat it because he's one of the few people that little guys that's ever had it. So she made that car for him, and what an awesome job she did, and what a great honor to Carson.
Now, Toyota donated $5,000 to Carson's family for medical expenses, and Michael Waltrip will try and qualify the Praying for Carson graphic scheme this June out at Sonoma on the road course. You saw the Toyota top performers, and earlier you saw Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch at the front of the pack. But after Johnson's spin and Kyle's dust up on pit road, they are back at 24th and 25th position.
And McMurray must have gotten the word to Chips in the house because he just moved up. Got to get going, got to get going.
5th place for Jamie Mack.
And you know, back to Kyle Busch, we know what the problem is with his race car, and Dave Rogers and that 18 crew, they need some caution laps to rectify the problem. You have a front end setting where you have the distance between the front of the front tires a little more than the distance between the rear of the front tires. It's called toe out. It gives the car stability getting in the corner. It's knocked way out. They need some cautions to be able to adjust that on pit road.
We've just passed halfway in stock car racing's longest night. Kurt Busch's Dodge leading Clint Boyer's Chevrolet, David Rudiman's Toyota, and Greg Biffle's Ford, the front four.
Get Kurt Busch trying to become the 7th driver to win the 600 after winning the All-Star race. He is your current leader, just ahead of Clint Boyer. A quick recap. We've had 9 different leaders and 15 lead changes. Opening ceremonies on this Memorial Day weekend, and the Army car on the pole, Ryan Newman, who led only 11 laps. Juan Pablo Montoya running for Ganassi with his problem on the slick track, and then Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Hammond, some problems here.
Yeah, his car got loose and got real hard to control coming up off turn 4, slaps the wall, goes back down, runs the 11 car off of the grass, doing damage to Denny Hamlin. But then all of a sudden things really broke loose as 18 gets into the 12 with Keselowski coming off of pit road. But I mean, it was a lot of mayhem all the way around the racetrack at that point in time.
Kyle Busch caught for speeding exiting a pit road. Kyle Busch, as we check the different 300-mile markers here, it's been a Busch Brothers Bash Fest so far. Kurt Busch leading at the 100th, and then at 200th mile mark was Kyle Busch, and then Kurt back at the 300th mile. And overall, Kyle Busch has led 36 laps, and so has Jimmy Johnson.
Well, Chris, right now, early on, watching Kurt Busch, he's doing exactly what I thought he'd do. He came back over with a different race car than what he'd won the All-Star race, but they learned from that setup. And tonight looks like, you know, they have figured this bad boy out. His brother, on the other hand, is 24th right now, and he's in jeopardy of going down a lap because he can't keep up with the times that his brother's putting down right now.
And the long green flag runs.
That's going to save his brother as he goes around the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Debris in turn 2 brings out the 4th caution of this race.
Well, when you take a look right here, 23rd, 24th, and 25th, you got Earnhardt, Busch, and Johnson. They were all saved by this caution flag.
Some of the big names watching. By the way, if you want to text on who you think should win the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award, you can do that and measure it against Jeff's vote. The AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year delivered by AT&T. Text it to 2258. The nation's fastest 3G network, and Denny Hamlin gets the free pass.
Gets a free pass. I mean, this is a big caution flag for about 4 drivers.
Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin's car was not handling at all. He's lost the left side of that lower valence, and nowhere there to put tape or put any bare bond to. So Hamlin had slipped 1 lap down. Getting the free pass will be a big break there.
And we were within 10 laps of what would be green flag stops when that caution came out, Darrell.
Yeah, these guys got a lot of work to do on some of these race cars. They got to line up the front ends and the back ends and everything else.
So the pits will be open this time. And they're going to come first to Dick Bergeron. And Dick, we were following up on the Gibbs cars. You were saying during that last caution that Logano thought he was having a problem.
Well, he definitely was. He had a big chunk of rubber in the grill area. They have fixed that. That should have made his car a whole lot better. But right now, I'm watching for the 00 to come into the pits as well. As you look at Logano behind the wheel, they're going to try to tighten the 00 up on this pit stop. Steve.
Dick, 4 tires this time for Clint Boyer. They took 2 last time. Air pressure adjustment as well. Krista.
Kurt Busch has been just a tick loose. The only thing they haven't tried to tighten it up wedge, so that's what they'll do this time. Matt?
Impressive run by Paul Menard in the 90. They've already completed the wedge adjustment. His car was free on this pass run. Left side tires on, and he's away.
One thing I saw, that 16 crew, remember, he'd been overheating Greg Biffle. They really made sure that grill was clean on that 16 car. Looks like he's going to come off pit road in 3rd and gain a spot.
Clint Boyer leads the parade off pit road, and Jimmy Johnson will get to make some lengthy and needed repairs on his car as we're under caution for the 4th time. 19 different drivers have won a race in what's now the Sprint Cup Series at Charlotte in a Ford. They were all built Ford tough. During the pit stop, adjusting the toe out on Kyle Busch's number 18 and making some cosmetic repairs to the right front. and trying to fix that lower valence on the left front of Denny Hamlin's car.
And remember, that was 2 cars that in the first part of this race were well up in the top 5. In fact, Kyle Busch, like Chris Myers pointed out, he led at the 200-mile mark.
That's a pan they're working on up under the nose of that 11 car. They put a pan underneath there for aerodynamic purposes. I believe that's what was hitting the ground.
Denny Hamlin was the free pass car. 26 cars on the lead lap. As we get set to go back to green, there were in addition 7 cars that took the wave around. Green flag to begin lap 218.
And let me just explain a pan. I'm not talking about a frying pan or anything. It's a piece of aluminum that they use for ducking under the car.
Boy, Kurt Busch in that 2 car got
awesome work, buddy.
Great run on the bottom.
And Clint Boyer is right with him, trying to join Cale Yarborough and Kyle Busch as birthday winners in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Those 2 cars jump out ahead.
That's what I'm talking about. New leader, the 2.
They've been listening to Chad
in the 48 car.
I think that 2 car is trying to tell Roger that, you know, Roger, you may not have had a great day at Indy, but we're going to cover for you here at Charlotte.
Rudeman and McMurray 3rd and 4th, then Biffle, Menard side by side.
Yeah, Paul Menard, he wants his 5th position away from Greg Biffle in that 16 car. Menard in the 98. And there's our points leader, Kevin Harvick, in the 29.
How about a salute to the troops? Memorial Day. Crank it up. The Memorial Day parade in your town isn't this fast or this loud.
Well, Larry, I'm seeing some things shaking up here in the top 10. All of a sudden, you got Kenseth in the 17 running 8th, Reagan there in the 6th running 10th. Stewart has now found himself up to 11th, and Kane, who had a great car early on, looks like they may have gotten it repaired and back in shape. He's up to 12th.
There are the top running Fords in the race on the restart. 2 of them, Biffle and Menard, were top 5, but now 4 of them in the top 10.
Yeah, and it wasn't that many laps ago. We only had 1 or 2 in the top 15, and Matt Kenseth, he has made his way in that 17 car up to 8th, and then David Reagan in that 6 car, we're looking at him, started back in the 33rd. He's in the top 10 now.
But think about it also, the thing about it is, all the good cars that have had trouble in the last little bit, you know, the 48, the 18, the 11, you're going to move up a little bit right now until those guys get back up to the front.
Well, they've got some work to do if they are going to catch the blue deuce. Kurt Busch is distancing the field now by 0.7 of a second. Krista?
Up atop the pit box with his crew chief, Steve Addington. I know Kurt's struggle in the past has been the transition from day to night. How is that going, and how is he feeling right now?
Well, we're kind of undoing some things right now. I think the racetrack's going to come around to what we had last week. I hope so. Anyway, it's a lot cooler on the pit box, but still like Dog. I've been running awesome. Really proud of these guys. We just got to keep it going, stay on top of it. So it's going to be just little changes here are making a big difference in the car.
I know as a transition from daylight to dark, I know that affects the car, but let me tell you, it also affects the driver. This racetrack takes on a whole different perspective when you go from sunlight into using the lights to illuminate this place. Track takes on a whole different look to you as a driver.
Well, and we're starting to see the speeds pick up as this racetrack gains some grip. In fact, Clint Boyer in that 33 car running second, he just ran one of his fastest laps of the race just about 5 or 6 laps ago.
7 of the drivers in the top 10 recently turned their quickest lap of the race, and those quick laps will come down even further as we go forward into the night here in Charlotte.
And as the track improves and the speeds pick up, guess what? The car is harder to drive. Faster it goes, the harder it is to drive.
This was a couple of players that were up in the top 5 or top 10 earlier in the race. Jeff Burton in the 31, Casey Kane in the 9, and right now they're back in the 12th and 13th position.
And Larry, you guys are talking about the speeds picking up. Let's don't forget, 600 miles, RPMs go up. Guess what happens to the engines? Probably we'll have some engine failures before the end of the night.
I guarantee you, Jeff, we'll be paying close attention to that in the last 100 miles like I talked in the pre-race. 100 miles longer than any other race on the schedule.
Looking back from Tony Stewart, and now moving to Paul Menard at 6th place, a little further forward. 2 of the Roush Fenway Fords, Kenseth and Biffle, battling. This is for 7th. 227 complete, 173 to go in the Coca Cola 600. Kurt Busch is your leader by 1 second. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Car owner. That's freaking great. That's awesome. Can you hear me right now?
Can hear you, thank you.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you. How you doing? You got a good car tonight?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think we'll be good here in just a bit.
I came to see you, man. Here I am.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
For more in-car audio and live race radio, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile at sprint.com/speed. 166 laps to go. McMurray currently 4th behind Kurt Busch, Clint Boyer, and David Rudiman.
You know, just listen to that conversation there between Jamie McMurray and Chip Ganassi. I guess just going back and thinking to the fall of 2002, when Jamie McMurray was subbing for injured Sterling Marlin, driving for Chip Ganassi, and in his second start in Sprint Cup, won the fall race here in 2002. He went away from Ganassi over to Roush Fenway, won some races at Roush Fenway. In fact, he won Talladega last fall, and now he's back with Chip.
It's just funny how things work, though, Larry. Sometimes you get fit into an operation. Jamie just fits in here a lot better than he did over at Roush's. He always felt like he said he felt like odd man out over there. Here he feels like he's part of the family.
2nd place, Clint Boyer has been caught by David Rudiman, and Boyer gives David the outside.
Tell you what, David Rudiman is running a race of his life tonight. I think he's been in the top 3 or 4 cars ever since the green flag dropped, and he just moves into 2nd place pretty fast.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is headed for pit road. Krista, what's up?
Overheating, Mike. They were up to about 265. They said if they got up to 270, they would pit, and that is exactly what they're going to do. They'll come in to take 4 tires and clean the grill. Dale Jr. just came on the radio and said, man, we were running pretty good, too. They had gotten up inside the top 20.
Yeah, Krista, that's the highest he had been running all race long. He had made it to the 16th, and you can see that plastic that was on that opening right there.
And they didn't get it all. Yeah, the first was a potato chip bag. Now they've got the rest of it as McMurray passes Boyer for 3rd.
I think Dale Jr. been following the BF5 truck the way it looked.
But now, Darrell, remember this, and this is the last race at which this rule will be employed for the first time. If a caution comes out, Earnhardt could get the waiver, use the waiver round to get back on the lead lap.
Where'd this come from, Larry? Good grief.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question why that thing was running that warm.
That's more stuff on that one car, on that one grill than I've seen on every car out here tonight.
But you know, Mike, to really take advantage of that waiver round, what this group really needs is probably a caution in about the next 10 to 15 laps to still have some fairly fresh tires on the car.
9th place battle, Greg Biffle, the number 16 Ford against Jeff Burton's Chevrolet. And here's Mark Martin for 13th up against David Reagan in the UPS Ford.
Mark that 5. Mark Martin in the 5, easing toward the front as the evening wears on.
Well, a lot like his teammate Dale Earnhart Jr., even though...
Hit the footer for a couple of laps. Now it's just a little snow
even though Mark started in the 11th position, he fell back. This is about the highest he's been in the running order, running 13th for a long time.
Now, the car we didn't see in the midst of them was 11th place Tony Stewart. Steve?
Mike, it's been a struggle tonight for Tony Stewart. He's been saying throughout the car's working too hard on the left front and the right rear. Just recently, he said it's starting to get a little better, but it's very line sensitive. I have to hit my marks right on the money.
And Darrell, we have not heard that a lot at this racetrack for the last week and a half, that it was a very line-sensitive racetrack. Seems like it's been very forgiving.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you look at where everybody's, some guys are on the bottom, some through the middle. I mean, they've been all over this racetrack. Surprised to hear that too, Larry.
One of the fastest cars on the racetrack is that number 16 Ford of Greg Biffle, who keeps picking up spots as he goes after Jeff Gordon for 8th.
He's been one of the guys that just has rim-rided this racetrack all night long. I mean, just scraping. Every now and then sparks will fly off of his car. He's so close.
Gordon has been up as high as 5th, but it seems like he has not been happy with the car at any point in this race yet. Dick?
Well, at the moment, Gordon is saying the car is wrecking loose. And you're right, Mike. There have been times when it's been incredibly tight, and it's never been just right for Jeff Gordon of the 24.
But it's been that way almost ever since they unloaded on Thursday. Brand new race car. There's been something missing the entire time.
But you know, he's not running that bad, Larry. I mean, the guy's sitting here running in a nice spot. I know he wants to run better than that, but pretty hard for the crew chief to know exactly what to do.
Kurt Busch, your leader, by 2 seconds over David Rudiman. Busch running laps at about 31:40s with 156 to go. .151 laps to go in Charlotte. Kurt Busch remains one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, and he enjoys a 2-second lead on David Rudiman.
Now, Mike, we're about 15 laps away from green flag pit stops. Our FedEx understanding the race. We're going through that last transition. We're going through the nighttime here. And if you look right here as far as temperatures, air temperature, we dropped about 6 degrees since the start of the race, but almost 20 degrees. Much more grip, some of the fastest speeds of the race. What the car will need, we still got several pit stops, one more major adjustment, but remember, you need to be ready in the latter part of this race for a long run or maybe a short run for that late race caution.
And what that does, that's kind of a crew chief thing, Larry. You got to have a set of tires aired up to go a couple of different ways. You can't just have them late. You got to have the short run tire pressures and the long run tire pressures. So you got to be ready in the pits.
Here's David Rudiman in 2nd place. We invite you to join errands by texting AFF to 50555. You'll make a $10 donation to the Armed Forces Foundation to provide vital support to America's military and their families. Now, Rudiman's lap times are right even with Kurt Busch's, but he remains 2 seconds off the lead. Jamie McMurray trying to gain a little ground here in 3rd.
It's amazing to me how McMurray stepped up as soon as he found out Chip was here. I mean, the car picked up a couple of tenths as soon as he talked to Chip on the radio.
And Clint Boyer, fastest of the Childress cars right now, about 4 seconds off the lead in 4th.
But I'm going to tell you, right behind him, we've talked about Jeff Burton, but Matt Kenseth in that 17 car, this is a Matt Kenseth type of a race. He's cracked the top 5, and remember, Matt got his first of his 18 career wins here in the Coca Cola 600 back in May of 2000.
I just see a lot of our old buddies creeping into the picture. You know, when you talk about Kenseth and on down there a little bit, Jeff Gordon still hanging around. Burton's in 9th.
Well, how about Harvick?
And Harvick's there. You know, some of these guys that kind of know how to run this race are starting to creep up toward the front.
But Darrell, you're right. These are some drivers we wouldn't expect to see at the front of the field until after 500 miles had passed.
Well, I think it's because of some of the problems that some of the fast guys have had. Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, you know, the 20 car of Gano, those were all front running cars that have had trouble in the pits.
Paul Menard with a great day in 7th, and Jeff Gordon running 8th, trying to hold off Jeff Burton here. About 11 seconds off the leader, and who just jumped in the middle, but Greg Biffle.
Good way to put it, too. He scares me to death there. Watch it. I guarantee you, watch it. There'll be some sparks come off that right rear when he exits the corner.
I like what you said earlier. He's going to run about a 700-miler tonight.
He's running further than anybody.
Tony Stewart just outside the top 10. Trying to better the handling on that. Stewart's never had a Memorial Day weekend win either in NASCAR Sprint Cup or the Indy Racing League.
But I can only remember a couple of years ago, he had about a 5.5-second lead with 3 laps to go and had a flat tire driving that 20 car.
Mark Martin coming into the picture in 12th. Now, that's right about where he started, the 6th row, and he's 15 seconds off the leader.
Mark's very happy right now. We haven't talked much about him tonight.
And he's all by himself.
He's all by himself, just riding along.
Joey Logano currently 13th. Started in the top 10, but his lap time's right on top of the leaders in a 31.60. And Paul Menard moves up past Kevin Harvick and into 6th. Tell you, this could turn out to be a career day for the Wisconsin driver. Now Carl Edwards, after hitting the wall in practice, jumped into this backup car and finds himself in 14th. And that's half the distance to the lead from where he started the day, 29th. Running with Casey Kane, whose Ford started 4th, but other than the first 10 or 12 laps, just never showed the promise of being able to run up front.
Yeah, they made a pit. I think it's a 2nd or 3rd pit stop. They did something to that race car, and it hadn't done it. It hadn't performed since.
Guy that's got to be disappointed right now is our pole sitter in that Army car, Ryan Newman, the 39, sat on the pole, and he's just really not been a player. He's sitting there in the 16th position. Biggest complaint, car just will not turn when he turns the steering wheel.
We'll be coming up on 400 miles and green flag pit stops. Stay with us. David Gilliland, Scott Speed, and Bill Elliott have begun the parade to pit road under the green flag. 136 laps to go. None of the lead lap cars have yet made a stop in this sequence. There's your leader, Kurt Busch, 1.7 seconds ahead of David Ruben, Jamie McMurray, Clint Boyer, and Matt Kenseth. And you hear that he will be on pit road in 5 laps.
Yeah, right up ahead of him is Jimmy Johnson. To put him a lap down, so he may pit. Kurt, the 2-car, may pit before he gets to Jimmy Johnson.
And you know, the Fords, they've been the first to hit pit road on these green flag pit stops.
Casey Mears on pit road. Mears driving in relief of Brian Vickers, who is out for the season with blood clot issues. Brian talked to him Monday, says he's feeling well and gets to golf, but doesn't get to drive a race car the rest of this season. Martin Truex on pit road. Krista.
Well, his last run, Mike, he called baffling. This time he got so tight. He said, if my car gets any tighter, I will knock the wall down. You see major adjustments going on with that 56. Steve.
Greg Biffle on pit road. He says his car is loose. They're going to take 4 tires, and they've already made an air pressure adjustment on the 16.
Kevin Conway is in. Marcus Ambrose as green flag stops continue. Here comes Clint Boyer to the pit lane, trailing Matt Kenseth. Also Paul Menard. Steve?
Matt Kenseth in the 17. He says there are going to be no adjustments on that car. The 33 of Clint Boyer, he says his car has gotten tight. No changes for Kenseth. 4 tires. Clint Boyer in the 33. They're going to take wedge out of the left rear, and they've already made an air pressure adjustment.
Pole sitter Ryan Newman in along with Brad Keselowski and David Reagan. As we're about a quarter way through this round of green flag stops. Matt?
The past 2 segments very rough for the pole sitter Newman. His car really unstable and loose on entry and snappy and almost wrecking loose on exit. Major adjustment for the 39.
Mark Martin in, Kevin Harvick, Tony Stewart, Jeff Burton, Casey Kane, and Kyle Busch. Steve?
Tony Stewart trying to stay inside the top 10 here. Down on pit road. Definitely 4 tires on the 14. Matt?
And on the previous run, Kevin Harvick said the car was, if anything, a little bit on the tight side, but he hadn't even driven a hard lap yet. 4 tire change, just stop, air pressure change. Krista?
Kurt Busch is in. You see the wrench going in the back window, just a minor adjustment. Kurt talking about just getting in a little bit too snug late on that run. 4 tires for the 2.
Jeff Gordon, Joey Logano in. Jimmy Johnson completes his stop. Dick.
Well, David Rudiman had been running in the 2nd position before that round of pit stops. McMurray in the 1, Rudiman in the 00. Both are going to have an easy out. Both have race cars that are so close that they each have a chance to win this event. Minor changes on each of those 2 cars on pit road that you're watching right now. 4 tires for both.
That leaves only Denny Hamlin still on the racetrack. Everyone else has made a stop in this green flag sequence.
And it's still a 2-stop race because we've got 130 laps to go, and we can go about 52 to 54 laps on a tank of Sunoco race fuel.
Sam Hornish too fast entering pit road. That'll be a drive-through penalty, which Hornish is serving now.
And with the issues that Denny Hamlin, the 11 team Mike Ford have, you know, what they're banking on right now is they can catch a caution. We would still have about 26 cars on the lead lap, but they're going to have to come to pit road here pretty quick.
Yeah, a caution would do several guys a lot of good, particularly Kyle Busch, whose car's running pretty decent now if he could get back some track position.
So Matt Kenseth takes over the lead as Denny Hamlin comes down pit road.
Yeah, and Matt Kenseth only has about a 3/4 of a second lead, but what helped him, he was one of those first cars to get to pit road and get advantage of those 4 fresh tires.
Here comes Hamlin in front of Matt.
Mike, the arts and crafts project for Hamlin and his team worked. The splitter was pushed back about 3 inches. The car, though, tight this past run. Mike Ford wanted to go up 2 rounds on the track bar for Hamlin to try to free the car up. A lot of people talking about how this racetrack has changed yet again. More grip.
So everyone is big spin for Jimmy Johnson, and he hits hard.
Yep, finally. Hey, I mean, he has just been hanging on.
A lot of damage to that car.
It has been a rough 2 weeks for Jimmy Johnson at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It has been a rough season. The first 6 races this year, 3 wins. In the last 6 races, no wins, 2 DNFs, and an average finish of 19th.
It's just been it's incredible how many times this car has been wrecked this year.
That was just totally on his own.
Oh, that's a hard hit. Man, saw it wiggle just a little bit, Larry, like it started to push. When it pushed, then the car caught and the back end came around and he smacked the heck out of that fence. See right there, and he just can't, the car is so loose and so free, he can't hang on to it. Of course, you know, Larry, there's the other thing, the leader right behind him, probably pushing as hard as he could, trying not to go a lap down.
That is a very hard hit, and if they are unable to repair that car, it would be the 4th did not finish of this young season for Jimmy Johnson.
Which is highly unusual of that 48 team.
Yeah, and I don't think they can fix that with the kind of damage it had.
In the last 2 seasons, both championship winning years for Johnson, he had only 1 DNF each of those years.
Just remember, he only has to be in the top 12 at the 26th race.
Good point.
Make it to where they can keep that front splitter off the ground and get the aerodynamics back where the left front can get planted. And guys, you know how important that is, keeping that left front down on the racetrack.
Thanks. Jeff Hamlin is 24th. Kyle Busch has had trouble. He is 22nd. We're ready to go green with Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch, Clint Boyer, David Rudiman, Paul Menard, and Jamie McMurray up front.
And nobody's out of this race yet. This race is still wide open. Some of these guys with trouble, they get their cars repaired, they'll be right back in it.
Kurt Busch, that too, picks right back up where he left off before that caution. Now, we only had a couple of 3 laps on our tires when that caution came. Had a few takers, most notably Kevin Harvick in that 29 car back in the middle of that pack.
But Larry, the 2 car, I haven't heard him complain much about his car all night long. And it's just been consistently fast, fast, fast.
About an 8-car, 10-car breakaway out front. Kyle Busch right up through the middle, picking him off where he catches him. There he goes in that blue and orange machine. He went right up through the middle, 3 wide on the restart. Now he drops to the inside on Casey Kane.
I'll tell you what, when on a restart, when everybody's bunched up like this, everybody's being careful except him. And he is pouncing, baby.
But Darrell, you talked about nobody's out of this race. I think Kyle Busch is a prime example. If you go back to yesterday's Nationwide Series race, the man was almost 2 laps down, just past halfway, came back to win the race.
If these guys get enough cautions here, you know, maybe 1 or 2 more, they'll be right back in it.
Here comes the Harvick Express. The number 29 trying to work his way back up to the front after making a pit stop on this caution, Matt.
Mike, he lost 13 spots on pit road because they had to take the time to do some work on that front of the machine. He bent a splitter brace, ran over some debris about 20 laps ago in the car, went extremely tight, so they had to fix that.
Thanks, Matt. Jimmy Johnson's been released from the care center. It is not known if they'll be able to repair his car and get it back out there.
You know what I like about that 29, Larry? He's driving like a man that has the big picture in mind, like he's trying to win a championship. He's not. I asked him in the pre-race, you know, do you want to win a race? You want to win a championship? I'm working on a championship.
He's working on Dale Earnhardt Jr. All the Hendrick cars with very patriotic Memorial Day paint schemes, and now they're going to take it 3 wide. Junior above Logano, and then the 9 of Casey Kane, and whoa, here comes Kyle Busch, and he wasn't going to wait for Casey Kane to get straightened out.
Corner. You're clear.
He is on the move. But you know, back to Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car. Remember, he was on pit road on an unscheduled stop at lap 237 running hot. Now he's in the 12th, 13th spot right in there.
Let's go down by the care center where Dick Berggren is with Jimmy Johnson.
Well, Jimmy Johnson rarely ever crashes, but crashed out of Talladega, crashed out of Darlington, spun last week, and now this. What is going on?
Oh, we're just racing, you know. It's come to the territory. You race long enough, you're going to have bad stretches, and you know, we've been performing well and running well. We've had some bad luck and made some mistakes. Got on the wall in traffic off of turn 4, did some damage. And it really hurt our car. We were trying to get the balance right after that, and it's got loose off it too. So I guess I'll take the blame for that one, and I went back next week.
We're glad you're okay. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Well, I think it's like Darrell said, you know, we're halfway through the first 26 races getting to the chase. Big picture for them, be in the top 12 when we get there.
They'll rebound.
Yeah, right now they're trying to win races, which is what you're supposed to do. But if they had to, they could back it down and finish some races and get plenty of points to get into the top 12.
Kurt Busch has a 0.7 of a second lead on Matt Kenseth. Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt Jr. takes the high road, trying to clear Joey Logano in the 20.
Here you go, man. Enter door, enter bumper, clear.
Been watching Junior's car. It's actually pretty good, Larry. I've watched him. He made some good passes up around the high side there like he's running right now.
But I like what he did right there. He did not overdrive the entrance of that corner. It looked like Logano in the 20, maybe even Allmendinger in that 43 car right there did. Junior gets the run off the corner. Looks like we're going to see the same thing down here in turn 1 and 2. And Kyle Busch in the 18 is going to follow him through the high side.
Drag race down the back straightaway. Allmendinger, the 43, looking in.
The thing that always amazes me about Kyle Busch, Larry, he can take an old car that's been beat up, knocked around, and still perform like there's nothing wrong with it.
We've seen him win a number of races that way.
Second place, Kenseth's Ford. Holding off for the moment, Jamie McMurray's #1 Chevy.
What a great run by that one car. Goodness gracious. He has worked his way right up here and trying to get into second place. Got a great race car.
Well, if you're a car owner, Darrell, had just won the greatest spectacle in racing and flew all the way here to Charlotte to watch you race, how would you perform?
I'd give it all I got, baby. I can tell you that.
And that's what Jamie
I'd want to make him proud, I can tell you.
So I would assume that Bruton Smith's offer of $20 million to who can win the daily double here on Memorial Day does not count for owners.
Probably not.
Ought to be something in there, shouldn't there?
You would think.
Yes, there should. In case you hadn't heard, Bruton Smith offered $20 million to a driver who could win both Indy and Charlotte the same day. We'll see someday if that's possible.
Is there any way we can just quit now? Shake it off here, please, on site. Enough of that garbage. You do your job, I'll do.
Fourth place, Matt Kenseth, David Rudiman. And while we were away, the 11th place car, Sprint Cup point leader Kevin Harvick, made an unscheduled green flag pit stop for 4 tires in Sunoco race fuel.
Matt Kenseth in that 17 car, he's been losing a lot of ground here lately. He lost second to McMurray just a few laps ago, third to Clint Boyer in the 33. Looks like now David Rudiman in that 00 is going to take the 4th spot away from him.
Yep, David just slid right up in front of him, made a nice pass. David has been, Rudiman in a 00 has been in the top 5, Larry, all night long. Been right there, just on the cusp. Hadn't been able to quite get up there and get the lead yet.
Well, second place, Jamie McMurray, a few laps ago, told everybody, don't leave your TV set because he's coming.
Hey, you can probably radio ahead to that 2 car. Time I'll be up there in a second. Here you coming, man.
I like that. I mean, that's a lot of confidence out of Jamie McMurray. You think about a kid that last year was beat up, didn't even know if he's going to have a ride this year or not. Gets in that one car, wins the Daytona 500, and runs so well.
Last year, McMurray was with Roush Racing. NASCAR mandated a team ownership cap of 4 teams per owner group. Jack Roush had 5. The odd man out was McMurray. And Chip Ganassi, that man right there, who today won the Indianapolis 500 with Dario Franchitti. Ganassi right away said, I want him back. And they worked to get McMurray back on board, and boy, he has responded.
That time by McMurray was 4/10 quicker.
Yeah, Jamie, that 2 car is going to back up and get behind us. He's overheating.
Yeah, he's been beating him quite a bit every single lap for about the last 5 laps.
Casey Kane off the pace.
Inside.
Did he hit the wall?
Doesn't look like it. I don't see any bent in sheet metal. But this car has not been very good since early in the race.
Here's a replay.
Oh, yeah, he gets loose. Just to get that slide like that, and you just can't catch up.
Well, he is mighty lucky he didn't hit that wall. He had about 2 or 3 good chances right there.
Good thing he had some experience in a sprint car. There you go.
Still on the lead lap. Here's Jamie Mack, and he is the new leader. Now, what Kurt Busch is going to try to do is get close enough to McMurray to take whatever piece of paper is on his bumper and dislodge it from the airflow.
Yeah, Chip says, this piece of cake, boys.
Yeah, let's see. Daytona, Indy, Charlotte. Here we go. And Lime Rock tomorrow.
Right.
But it's one thing when your driver tells you I'm catching the leader to tell him to hang on, I'll be there, and then he backs it up.
Robbie Gordon hit the wall again.
Yeah, he just pounded it pretty good in turn 4.
Pancaked the right side.
Right side, guys.
Same spot, exit of turn 4. Tires down, sheet metal pancaked. Trying to get to the pits. No caution. We stay green. So that car starts shedding debris. We may see the yellow flag with 100 laps to go. So far, so good.
They're way down. Way down.
Caution's out,
there
Mike.
It is.
Yeah.
Caution for Robbie Gordon will be the 6th one of the night. 1 for Montoya, 1 for Ambrose.
Or whatever you want to do for tires.
1 for debris and 2 for Jimmy Johnson. Now this one for Robbie Gordon, the off-road star and former IndyCar racer from California, running his own operation, one of the few remaining driver owners in the Sprint Cup Series.
Darrell, I just heard McMurray tell Kevin Mannion, you do whatever you think on tires. It's been about 30 to 35 laps since those green flag stops. We are right at 100 laps to go. My feeling would be get 4 now, and then that may put us in position to take 2 a little bit later on. But we are down to a 1-stop race after this pit stop here.
I agree, Larry, 100%. Give me 4 now, and that way we got options. Don't put me in a box.
Open this time, guys. Open this time.
Jeff Hammond, you want 4 tires? You want to gamble?
I'm with Darrell right now, Mike. I think you need to come get 4 tires and put yourself in a position to try to get track position later on. You don't want to gamble at this point.
But this is also where you better make that big swing at it if you're going to make a big swing. This is maybe close to the last shot you get at it, Dick.
Well, initially they were going to put 4 tires on Jamie McMurray's car, but I just heard them say 2 tires on that car. Remember, they started in the 27th position today and have worked their ways all the way to the front. Steve.
Clint Boyer says his Chevrolet won't rotate well enough, so they're going to go down on the track bar 1 round, 4 tires. Krista.
Kurt Busch was concerned about overheating. The call from Steve Addington, give me rights, Matt.
Kyle Busch continues his rebound. He hit pit road in the 13th position. Right side tires only for track position.
Boy, a lot of gamblers. And Kurt Busch leads them off pit road.
Looks like Clint Boyer, the first car to take 4 tires in that 33 car. Wave around that are in front of the leader. Once we get the 1 to go, they go all the way around, come up to the back of the pack.
June 18th. Revenge gets ugly. Jonah Hex in theaters Friday, June 18th. They have to reorient the lineup. And let's visit with Jamie Mack's crew chief, Dick.
And that's Bono.
Got a Camry hybrid pace car. Jimmy Johnson back in the race. I can't believe as hard as that car hit, the Chad Knaus, Ron Malik and crew have that thing back on the racetrack.
And he's running in 37th spot.
They basically put a whole front end from the windshield forward on that thing.
Green flag, Kurt Busch, Jamie Mack, Rudeman, Kenseth, Kyle Busch up for 5th, and Jeff Gordon 6th.
Got a slow drag race off the second turn over there between the 2 and the 1, or the 1 and the 2.
Kurt Busch, the 2, gets a pretty good run on the high side, and he carries it down into 3 and 4. Here comes McMurray in the 1 on the bottom, though.
Like McMurray's car that last time, Larry, was a little bit better at the end of the run. Maybe this 2 car is a little better on the short haul.
Our top 9 cars on that restart went with 2 tires. Everyone else with 4 tires on that caution.
Well, that's what I told you at the break, Larry. 2 tires, okay. If everybody takes 2 tires.
The first car to take 4 tires in the running order right now, Clint Boyer in that 33 car up there battling Jeff Gordon. That's pretty much a battle for the 6th position.
So he has the tires, but he doesn't have the track position.
But he's working on the track position as we speak.
Oh, got a car hard down into turn 1 down there. Up into the wall. Looked like something broke.
Caution is out.
The car just 7th time. Man, the car just shot up the hill like something happened to it.
Now the big beneficiary from this caution will be Kevin Harvick in the 29 that took that wave around just a few laps ago. Back on the lead lap. There he is right there.
That's what the wave around. That's a perfect whirl for a wave around. No, he just, I don't know. Did you think something broke?
No, but he hit it spoiler first, and that has really rearranged the rear end and the right side for Biffle.
I'll just look at it. Let's take a look here. I can't.
Tires are up.
I don't know if he just drove it down in the corner too hard and maybe on low air the car bottomed out, but something happened to it. It just took off all at once and turned sideways.
Yeah, Darrell, he was one of the cars that took 4 tires on that last pit stop.
It looked weird.
Pretty bad.
Now let's update that Harvick situation. He took the wave around on the last caution. That put him at the tail end of the lead lap. What this does is allow him to pit and have the same tires as the leaders instead of being on those forewarned ones trying to keep up. So that is a big gain for our point leader.
I mean, that was, as Darrell said, that was the perfect whirl for him right there.
So if we can see what happens this 16. And he's going off into turn 1 here, and I know he's backs off good. No problem there. God, the thing just dipped down and got loose. Almost like it bottomed out on the right front or something, just turned him sideways.
Well, it's the second trip into the wall tonight for Biffle. The first one, he was just running up there and got loose and got against it. This time he had a long way to go to get to the wall, and it shows on the right rear.
But Darrell, just remember, our FedEx understanding the race. Some of the faster speeds, faster you run, the more it travels, the more you might bottom out.
Some of our lead lap cars pit, Hamlin, Kane, and some further back, but no one in the top 10 came to pit road.
Boy, these old motors are, they've been working hard here for most of the evening, and then going up through the gears. That's a big fear I always had, missing a shift or over revving the engine. After these things have been run as hard as they have, got to take care of them.
Well, I guarantee you that engine in that 18 car of Kyle Busch, he's been run hard tonight, because now he has cracked the top 5, but we got a battle for second between McMurray in the 1, Kenseth in the 17.
Side by side and trading paint right behind them. Here comes Kyle Busch and Jeff Gordon. Kenseth sends it in the 17. He's going to ride that high line for second off the corner.
Kyle Busch can drive down in a corner harder than anybody I've ever seen and hang on to it. And particularly early in a run on cold tires, he's the best there is on cold tires.
Logano and Burton, 8th place. Tony Stewart looking on.
And Mike, you don't think business is picking up? 3 of our top 5 just ran their fastest lap of the race. The speeds are picking up, as we mentioned in our FedEx to Understanding the Race.
Almost a second faster than we were earlier.
Rudeman 5th. Gordon's 24 is 6th.
Just a little earlier, I'm talking.
Teammates Boyer and Burton, then Logano. Stewart, the 14, is the 10th place car.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt Busch, the 2, our leader, just ran a 29.97. The fastest lap of this entire race is only a 29.94 by our pole sitter, Ryan Newman, in the 39.
27 lead lap cars. The most cars to finish a 600-mile race at Charlotte on the lead lap is 20. We should handily exceed that tonight.
Yeah, with the waiver round, you're gonna do that for sure.
Jeff Gordon, Jeff Burton side by side.
With Burton in that 31, a little loose getting in the corner with his teammate Clint Boyer, the 33, 4 fresh tires. Now he's battling Gordon for that second
down here. Let's go by this guy.
That's Mike Dillon. Boyer spotter.
He's encouraging Mr. Boyer to get on by that 24.
Clear, clear.
What a boy.
Tell you what, Clint Boyer in that 33, he's really been up there in the top 10 almost all race long.
Second place, McMurray coming back after Matt Kenseth. Clears him.
Clear. Come on, come on, come on. Nice job. Nice job, man.
I believe this one car is a good long run car. It seemed like after about 10-15 laps, he really starts nibbling away on the 2's lead. 2's good on the short run, though, and that could pay off if we get some late cautions.
Darrell, we've got 82 laps to go now, 81. We know we'll have at least one more pit stop.
1.3 seconds is the distance from Kurt Busch to Jamie Mack. So take that 1.3 and park it to the side for the moment. See if McMurray can reel in the leader. 81 laps to go in Charlotte. The 0.7 of a second. Kevin Harvick would continue as the series point leader. He restarted in 25th, and Harvick is now up to 13th. For more NASCAR stats, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile at sprint.com/speed.
Allmendinger there, Mike, Larry, he's holding a pretty wheel tonight, too. He's been hanging around the top 10, 15.
He and Paul Menard both doing a nice job tonight for Richard Petty Motorsports.
Yeah, A.J. Allmendinger in the 43 car started in the 18th spot, but you're right. He's been hanging right inside the top 15, inside the top 20, all race long.
Now, Matt Kenseth was up in that battle for the lead on the restart. He's sitting now in third, 3 seconds back, Steve.
Mike, Matt Kenseth has trouble. He is overheating right now. He's got trash on his grill. He's trying to find somebody to hook up with so he can get up to the rear bumper and get that trash off.
You can see it right there on that.
Every bit of that. Larry, I really haven't I don't remember Charlotte. having a problem with stuff getting on the grill like we have tonight. That's a number of cars that have just had that cavity there packed full of trash.
That's normally a Michigan or a Fontana issue.
Here comes Burton. Jeff Burton going to try to overhaul Kenseth and Greg Biffle, who had been on the wall and has dropped back in the field. Now Kyle Busch closes in, but Burton is coming to the front. He's a two-time winner of this race. He's a late race closer, and this is turning into just a Jeff Burton kind of race as we come up on 500 miles complete.
And we saw his owner, Richard Childress, earlier today. He told us that he thought Burton had something for the 600 miles.
David Rudiman, for I think the first time tonight, Dick, is outside the top 5.
Yeah, you'd love to have the car just right at the end of the race, but that's not what's happened to Rudiman. The car has gone tight. Rudiman said it's bad.
Well, this is what we talked about all day long. This is the final situation that this track has. You've got the most grip, but this is when the handling characteristics really change. We're in the nighttime, and the track has a tremendous amount of grip. Handling characteristics have changed on these cars.
And that's where you've got to be able to adjust on your car every stop, and you got to anticipate what's going to happen here tonight.
And you'll have one more chance to do that at least. At least one more pit stop required to go the distance.
And that should come in about 20 to 25 laps should we stay green. But I just believe our little one car, McMurray, he is reeling that 2 car in again. Kurt Busch, our leader.
Yep. Big difference in those 2 cars, like we've already said. The 2's good on the get-go, and the 1 car chases him back down after they run a few laps. That can be cured, though. The 1 car, all they got to do is up that air pressure a little bit, and he'll be fast from the get-go.
I think Rudiman heard us. Here he is trying to get back into the top 5 and make a pass on Kyle Busch. Did it.
Kyle didn't put up a big fight in that 18 car, so Rudiman's now back in the top 5.
I think Kyle has done a great job of battling back to even be in the top 10. And right now, I've said this over and over, Mike, Larry, the new Kyle Busch is the smarter Kyle Busch. He would have given up, wrecked that car, run in the wall, and he'd be in the garage right now. But he's hanging in there and getting all he can out of the car without wrecking it.
Here's the battle for 10th. Joey Logano trying to hold off Paul Menard and point leader Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick in that 29 car just outside the top 10. Remember, he just got the wave around about 30 laps ago in that 29 car. It was on the tail end of the lead lap.
And has come from 25th to 12th. 333 laps complete. That is 500 miles. And if this were the Coke 500, Kurt Busch would be the winner and Jamie Mack second by half a second. But it's not. We have 100 miles left to race in Charlotte. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. Side racing, and Jamie McMurray went fishing for the lead and took it. Here's a look at the pass.
Oh, yeah. They've been working on each other here for quite a while. They run side by side. You'd think after 500 and some miles, these guys would be tired of racing. The race has just started, and they're having a ball right now.
But here's the problem. I believe Chip Ganassi, the owner of Jamie McMurray, likes that pass. But here's the problem that Kurt Busch in that 2 car has right now. Again, the handling characteristics of this racetrack has really changed. It's cooled down a lot. He's tight turning in the corner. In other words, he turns the front wheels turning in, and they just slide. He slows the speed of the car down, and when the front wheels bite, then he's loose under acceleration. That's the reason McMurray's able to get by him and actually pull away.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, if he can keep McMurray in sight, and it looks like after if they happen to make pit stops together, green flag stops, that 2 car's a little better over a short period of time. So that could play to his advantage, but he can't let that 1 car get too far away from him. And it looks like McMurray's going to drive off and leave him in the dust.
Jamie Mack has taken off. It has been a great month of May for the Busch brothers as McMurray works his way underneath the 46 of J.J. Yaley after passing Greg Biffle. Look at the winners the last 3 weekends. They're all named Busch. And look at the leaders at each 100-mile post of this race. They're all named Busch. But one stat that Kurt Busch doesn't want to hear is that in the last 15 years of this race, only 3 of the drivers who led at 500 miles took the checker at 600 miles. Dale Jarrett, 1996, Jimmy Johnson in 04 and Casey Kane in 06.
But an observation I've made with Jamie McMurray in that one car, Larry, and we've mentioned this a number of times, when he picked up the ride in the 88 Nationwide car for Junior Motorsports, I saw an improvement in his overall driving. I think the laps, he just ran 300 miles here yesterday. I think those laps and that seat time in that car is really helping him in this car.
That's with the same tire combination they're running tonight.
Pit stops are coming. We'll be back for them.
Chip Ganassi, the Daytona 500 winner and the Indy 500 winner earlier today. Matt Kenseth making an early pit stop. We're coming up here on green flag pit stops.
It's a scheduled stop, but Steve, what are they going to do to the 17?
Well, Jeff, his biggest problem is he's starting to run hot. He also wants the brake duct opening cleaned off. They also got a tear off. Jeff, he also said that he's loose on the gas, so they took some air out of the right rear tire, 4 tires.
And Kurt Busch, who again for the 4th time in his career has led more than 200 laps. He's won 2 previous races right behind Jamie McMurray. And let's look at this final pit stop. At least without a caution here, could decide the race.
Well, this could decide the race, and we're coming up on probably what's going to wind up being about the 10th pit stop for these crews. And I think when you stop is going to be very important how you come in. We've already seen the 17 on pit road. Now we see the 29, our point leader, Kevin Harvick, coming down pit road. And so we got to figure out what he's going to do on this pit stop.
And Matt Yoakum has the latest on that. Matt?
And Harvick once again climbed to just outside the top 10 and then hit pit road. Chassis adjustment complete for Harvick, Dick.
Jamie McMurray coming in. And Dick Berggren has the lead.
Your leader pitting right now with a 4-tire change. This car has been virtually perfect toward the end of the night. Krista.
Kurt Busch has been tight in, loose off, the same condition he's had all race. He said, I need the right front to dig. Steve Addington is going to give him that with wedge. Matt.
Stopping a little deep in his box is Kyle Busch in the 18 chassis adjustment. He says the car is just tight and he gives up too much time at the front end of the run, and he is away.
And David Rudiman is in the pits right now. Whoa, he really had to make a sharp turn to get the car in the pit area. He is legally parked. Steve.
Dick Clint Boyer says he's a little bit too free. Track bar adjustment for Boyer and 4 tires. Last pit stop potentially for Boyer.
Jeff Gordon, Joey Logano in. Martin Truex making his stop. Ryan Newman. Boyer is away. Biffle is in. Mark Martin completes his stop, and here's Tony Stewart coming down the pit road. Stewart was the leader. He gives up the lead to David Reagan to make what could be his last stop of the night. Steve.
Mike Joy, it's taken all night, but Tony Stewart says the back of the race car is finally in the track. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment and 4 tires for Tony Stewart.
The only cars that have not stopped are David Reagan, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Denny Hamlin, of those cars that are on the lead lap.
David Rudiman had a terrible time getting in his pit box. The 99 car, Carl Edwards, was coming out as Rudiman was coming in. They almost collided. That cost David a lot of time.
Reagan will surrender the lead, and that means that Dale Earnhardt Jr. will lead this race for the first time tonight.
Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. can go about another 6 laps because he pitted on that last caution. But how about David Reagan, Dick?
Larry, he's had a really good night. David Reagan has kept the car off the wall. He's run a smart race tonight, and he's got a shot for a real good finish out of this thing.
So Earnhardt and Denny Hamlin, who last stopped at lap 310, 46 laps ago, lead this race.
Now, Denny Hamlin's going to come to pit road. The problem staying out there is you're banking on a caution, but you're giving up about a second a lap to those fresh tires.
Earnhardt continues to circulate as Hamlin, who had his problems when Jimmy Johnson spun and Denny had to go to the grass to miss him. They've recovered from that. You see the tape on the nose, and he heads for his pit box and Matt.
And Mike, pretty much from that juncture, he has been tight for the rest of the race. They've tried to free him up every stop. Another significant wedge adjustment on this stop for the 11 of Denny Hamlin.
And then there was one. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the only driver who has not made this green flag pit stop. You see Casey Kane trying to get by.
It's lap 358. He can go to about 362 to 364 on fuel. But you see fresh tires on the bottom on Casey Kane, the 9 car, how he'll just drive by.
Jamie McMurray pulling down on Casey Mears and trying to rebound. Now McMurray's the second place car, but he is 14 seconds behind Dale Jr.
Yeah, but he's driving away from his closest adversary, I think, which is Kurt Busch in the 2. McMurray is driving off and leaving him.
All right, there's 1 second between second and third. About 15 seconds between Earnhardt Jr. and McMurray. Let's show you the distance. Jr. comes off turn number 4. And it's about half a lap back to Jamie Mack.
But he just ran a 31.66. The lap before that, Kurt Busch back there in third ran a 30.71.
Here's McMurray, the orange car. And about a second behind him comes Kurt Busch. And you're right, at this moment, McMurray is quicker with 40 laps to go.
But Dale Jr.'s got nothing to lose. I mean, he might as well sit there and play this hand all the way out to the very end.
He almost did right there.
Well, he can lose his race car now.
As long as he doesn't become the caution.
That's right. That was pretty ugly.
Scott Speed just made a pit stop, too fast entering. Bill Elliott makes what could be his last stop of the night. Dale Jr. is running 31.60s, McMurray 31 flat.
Yeah, he's given up a lot of time, and like I said, though, he doesn't have anything to lose. He might as well stay here until he has to absolutely out of fuel. Who knows? Might get that caution.
Well, we know this is when these drivers really start to ramp it up. You start getting up on the edge because you know the end is getting nearer and nearer.
Yeah, I'd say, Larry, in most cases, your car's as good as it. I mean, you've worked on it all night. You got it as good as you're going to get it. And now it's all in the driver's hands. Get me all you can.
Casey Mears took out the pit road. He's not been there since lap 300. On the last pit stop, watch Tony Stewart coming out. Watch the crewman right there get bumped by the rear spoiler of Stewart's car. Sends one of Greg Biffle's crew to the ground.
Wow.
And here's Steve.
And Mike, the injured crewman was Kevin McDowell, the rear tire carrier. He was just put onto a golf cart of sorts and taken to the infield care center. He was in good spirits. He was smiling, but he was limping. But again, shaking hands with the other guys on the team. Kevin McDowell, the rear tire carrier, headed to the infield care center.
Thanks, Steve. See those sparks coming from the right rear of Dale Jr.'s car? Every time he goes off in that corner, something is hitting the racetrack.
I really haven't paid that much attention, Mike. Let's see if we can get a handle on it. Back of the car looks mighty low, I'll say that.
It's at the other end of the speedway when he goes in the turn. Something in the right rear suspension appears to be hitting the ground, or it could be a tailpipe perhaps.
And definitely that's where the track is the bumpiest, getting down into turn 1.
Yeah, you'll hear the drivers all the time talking about going into turn 1. Right here you go up and over. Yeah, I'd say that's a tailpipe probably, or maybe the skirt on the right side dragging a little bit.
Now he's run 55 laps.
Pit this time. 4 tires.
And that will be 56 laps on this tank of fuel and tires.
So Junior leads 10 laps of this race. And now failing to get a caution, comes in for what could be his final stop of the night with 35 laps to go. And here's Krista.
Dale Jr.'s crew is trying to redeem themselves and give their driver what he needs. Back on lap 300, they had a bad stop. They were going for 4. They dropped the jack after 2. They said, "We are sorry, Junior. We screwed you on that one." This time, 4 tires as they work around to give Dale Jr. back on the racetrack. 4 tires for Junior.
Pretty good stop there, guys.
He will stay on the lead lap, it appears, but will likely drop down out of the top 20.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to get back up to speed or not, because there goes McMurray in that one car, and there he is on the apron. So.
There's no way you can make a stop there and not lose that lap.
A caution flag, though, would put him right back in play. We have 33 laps to go in the Coke 600. Joplin, Missouri's Jamie McMurray, in his first season back with Chip Ganassi's team, won the Daytona 500, and he's out in front tonight by 2 seconds over Kurt Busch. His best finish in this race, 4th in 2004.
Now this right here, Mike, Larry, this will get your attention. You're leading this race and you come off that corner and you say, whoa, don't want to wreck this thing leading the race for no reason.
But how many times have we seen that where you're on the bottom, a car above you, it just kind of pulls your car around, especially if your car is a little free to begin with.
Denny Hamlin didn't want to go a lap down, and here comes Dale Jr. on fresh tires, trying to get his lap back. Here's Kurt Busch, the second place car, 1.9 seconds behind.
Is that Jamie was saying maybe getting a little loose off?
I think that was Kurt. Back to Matt Kenseth in third. Now he's 7 seconds off the lead.
And he's got company back there in that 31 car. Jeff Burton just a little ways behind him. You see him right there in the cat car.
Burton's done a nice job tonight. I thought he had the car to win this race there for a good while. But the 2 and the 1 have just picked up the pace so much.
And David Rudiman's back up at the top 5.
Good for him. He's been there all night long. Probably most consistent car, he and the 2 all night long.
Last year's winner. And Kyle Busch has fought back from adversity, some of it self-imposed. A pit road collision as he was coming out of his pit. And he's now 10 seconds off the lead, along with Clint Boyer. Running 7th, started 10th.
Yeah,
big crash for Marcus Ambrose. And that changes everything with 24 laps to go.
I don't think this is going to play into the 1's car's hands. He's just hadn't been that good on these short runs, on these restarts. Perfect for the 2, though, because he's pretty good. At this
7, up by the wall.
Yeah, he just gets up here a little too high and loses it, and it just kind of comes around. You can't catch it. But you know what, Mike? At this point, if you said who's going to win this race, I don't have a clue.
Right.
Because anybody in the top 10 right now could win this race.
For the 3rd time tonight, Denny Hamlin receives the free pass. That's called being in the right place at the right time.
Those are things that you look back on and win your championship.
Yes.
And the thing about it, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 with much fresher tires was reeling him in, but didn't get by him before the caution came out.
Wow, that's a hard hit way on the right side of the screen. Lifted all 4 tires up off the ground, and Ambrose, the Tasmanian, is okay and out of the car. Pit road's open, and here they come. Dick Bergman.
And Bono told his driver Jamie McMurray 2 tires, put it close to the wall. McMurray does exactly that. We're going to put a little bit of gas in it, but not very much. Steve.
Dick, right side tires only for Matt Kenseth. He wants track position, right sides only. Krista.
When the caution came out, the 2 guys started clapping. They knew their driver couldn't catch Jamie the way it was. Air pressure and 2 tires, Matt.
Right side tires only for Kyle Busch. He said he just needs to turn better to the center of the corner. Oh, issues again for Kyle Busch.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it was kind of a no-brainer going with 2 tires. We only had about 20 laps, but the 2-car Kurt Busch, Matt Kenseth in the 17, they beat that 1 car off pit road that time.
Yeah, this is not working out well for Jamie Mack at all.
Brad Keselowski too fast entering. He'll serve a penalty. And let's show you what Matt was talking about, as here is Kyle Busch. And almost takes his own crewman with him.
That'd have been big if he'd have drugged that air gun with him. That'd have been another penalty.
22 laps to go. What'll happen next? To go at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Kevin McDowell, the rear tire carrier for Greg Biffle, is being transported to a local hospital for observation and treatment. New players at the front because Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin and Ryan Newman did not pit. They've chosen track position over fresh tires.
And they had about 20 laps on those tires. You know what? I don't think it's a bad gamble.
No, I mean, Mark Martin, we haven't talked about him all night long, but watch the wheel spin on these restarts with those hot tires. They pick up a lot of debris.
Green flag, 19 to go. Three wide, close quarters. Who's in the middle coming forward? That'd be Kyle Busch.
But look at Jeff Burton in that 31 car. He got bad loose on the high side. He's going to go way back, and now here comes Kurt Busch in the 2 car.
31 looked like he got a left rear tire down, Larry. He's got trouble.
Here comes McMurray, though, pounding along the outside, passing Jeff Gordon and moving to second, and we're right back where we were. Kurt Busch, Jamie Mack.
This is exactly like I thought it would play out. The 2 cars really, really fast for about 20 laps, and that's about what we got to go here.
Jeff Burton has to come to pit road. What a shame. What a great race he had driven to this point. Burton was third at 500 miles. It was a left rear tire, and Kyle Busch moves ahead of Ryan Newman and back into the top 5.
Now look, these guys all get very, very aggressive, as we well know at this point in the race. So I don't think we've seen our last caution flag.
Let me tell you how aggressive Kurt Busch is getting. He just ran the fastest lap of the entire race, period, right there.
You know what this reminds me of? Last Saturday night.
Yes, it does.
That lap, Busch was 3/10 quicker than McMurray.
But you know what? He knows he's got to get a big, big case of getting gone right now, because McMurray will chase him back down. I guarantee you.
24 cars on the lead lap. 16 laps to go. Big wad of cars coming out of turn number 2, and we're going to have one more caution. It could come right out of the middle of this pack.
Yeah, these guys are all battling for position. This is all lead lap cars all the way from Rudiman, but right now we've got this battle for third. Kyle Busch in the 18 goes by those 2 Hendrick cars, who has 20 more laps on their tires.
If I had to have one guy in a car on a restart, it'd be that guy in that 18. He can get it done on cold tires. He takes advantage of every situation on a restart.
Kyle Busch clears Jeff Gordon and is 2.9 seconds behind with 15 laps to go.
And these guys should not catch lap traffic now. They've got a pretty clean racetrack in front of them.
McMurray is going to get to Busch right at the very end of this race. Don't know if he's going to get him or not, but he's going to get to him.
Kenseth, Boyer, and Menard. Look at this pile right here, trying to get past Ryan Newman, the 7th place car, the 39.
Larry, some of that pit strategy paid off pretty good. You got Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin still in the top 5. Didn't come to pit road.
And I think while these guys are battling back there, that's letting those 2 guys just pull away up there in the top 5. This is the first time Mark Martin's almost been in the top 10 tonight.
I think it's the first time he's been in the top 15. We just said earlier on, you know, watching him be around at the finish, but I didn't know he'd be this far up to the front.
Now they were 4th and 5th. And here's Mr. Where did he come from? Harvick back in play in 12th place, working on Logano on the inside, and the 17 of Kenseth.
Oh, this is
These
big.
2 guys have a history of racing each other a little hard.
This is big getting down in that corner, but looks like Harvick's got the best line.
11th?
Yeah,
10th. Whoa.
Whoa, that was close.
Almost too close.
Cost him a little bit of speed off that corner. They allowed the 17 of Kenseth fight back on the outside, but I believe that the 29 has got the speed around the bottom.
And Harvick is now in the top 10.
12 laps to go. It'll be 11 when they get back.
4th place, Mark Martin goes after his Hendrick teammate, Jeff Gordon.
You know, if Jeff Gordon in that 24 car, if he can come out of here with a top 5 to 7 finish, I think he'll feel like he won the race.
I guarantee you. Hadn't been anywhere near the front all night.
Harvick gave up 10th and 11th and fell back behind Logano.
Now that time McMurray was just a little bit quicker than Kurt Busch, but it's just I just don't know if the clock's going to let him get there.
No, but that's about when the switch is flipped. The 2 starts to slow down and the 1 starts to speed up, and he starts eating into that lead.
It's 1.1 seconds with 10 laps to go.
10 to go. It's going to be so close.
Yeah.
Another half a tenth right there.
He needs more than a tenth a lap to be there at the checkered flag.
And I saw him the last time off turn 4, McMurray, in that one. Yep. He is digging for everything he can dig right now.
Darrell, it sounds so easy. All I need is a tenth of a second a lap.
But you know what's cool? You got Penske racing Ganassi. We saw that all day in Indy, and here we are seeing it here play out again tonight here at the Coke 600.
And that is cool. Two of America's great race team owners in its two greatest racing series. And they fight each other for both wins, afternoon and evening.
And the cat running third, I mean, his car owner's not too shabby himself. You know, he's won the Daytona 500, he's won the Super Bowl, he's won a championship.
And the fourth place car, Mark Martin, his car owner, Rick Hendrick in NASCAR, he wins everything else.
He's not too shabby either, is he? We got some amazing car owners in this sport. He's getting there, Larry. He's starting to smell the draft. That one car is.
Yeah,
1 second flat.
He beat him by over a tenth of a second that lap right there. There'll be 7 to go next time by.
But back to 7 to go.
That gap is closing, and it is closing fast. I'm telling you, I like what I'm seeing. He's going to get the. Whoa, no. Larry, he overdrove it so bad that lap. Drove it in there and got lost a little bit of time.
No gain. 1 second with 7 to go.
He overdrove third turn. The car took off up the hill with him, cost him a little bit of time.
Off turn 2, McMurray coming. He gets the gap under a second.
Trying so hard.
Meanwhile, Harvick trying hard to get into the top 10. Racing for 11th against Logano. 95 hundredths first to second. And Harvick may make the pass stick this time.
A couple of Richard Petty Motorsports cars behind him there. Casey Kane in the 9, Allmendinger in the 43. Both those are lead lap cars.
Boy, I tell you, that is. I feel sorry for Jamie. I mean, he is giving it. He's driving so hard.
But you can see the interval right there. It's shrinking just ever so slightly.
It's going to run out of time.
Kurt Busch is not looking back.
Nope.
He picked up on last Saturday night's All-Star win with a car that had been in the wall earlier in the race and which NASCAR took for inspection. They didn't get a good chance in the early part of the week to measure it and see what they might transfer to this car for tonight. Whatever the magic was, they put it in this blue deuce.
This just played right into the two cars' hands. That last caution was at the perfect time for him and the way they have his car set up.
And I think the fact that the Steve Addington-led crew won the battle off pit road.
That was a big gain, too.
Jamie McMurray came in here 17th in Sprint Cup points, trying to leave here 15th in the standings. While Kurt Busch 6th could gain 3 spots tonight.
I don't think that Chip Ganassi will be too disappointed with the effort of McMurray tonight. I mean, his car has run so well, led the race, pretty impressive.
And you know what, Darrell, the way that Jamie ran at Darlington and Dover, finished second at Talladega, maybe this is the guy that may make the chase in 2010.
He's working on it, Larry. There's no question about that. He and Bono Mannion are working well together right now.
And tonight, McMurray led 4 times as many laps as he had led total in his 7 previous appearances in the 600.
There's no question that this goes straight to the top of the charts as far as performances for both of those cars right there. Both of those drivers. Kurt Busch never had a top 10 finish in the Coke 600.
Well, his crew chief has been pretty good over here in the past. I'll say that, and it's paying off again tonight. Steve Addington has done a whale of a job turning this Penske program into what you see tonight.
9/10 of a second is oh so brief, yet oh so far on the racetrack.
There's Steve Addington right there, made the move from Joe Gibbs Racing, from Kyle Busch to Kurt Busch and Penske Racing for 2010.
You have to be white flags in the air, but you got to also be impressed with the 18 car, Larry. Overcome all the adversity they did, and he's sitting here, he's going to come home in 3rd place. That's an impressive run as well.
McMurray cuts it down to 87 hundredths. A big waggle off turn 4 last time. He is so agonizing close to giving Chip Ganassi the Memorial Day double.
Well, the old vortex theory, she worked in, Mike.
Because we just made a clean sweep of their checkbook.
Roger Penske prevails. Kurt Busch wins the Coca-Cola 600. Jamie McMurray, Kyle Busch, Mark Martin, David Rudiman, the top 5. Jeff Gordon, Clint Boyer, Paul Menard, Ryan Newman, and Matt Kenseth, the top 10.
That's what I'm talking about. That was awesome, buddy. That was freaking awesome. I have never seen anybody drive a race car and be as smooth as you were and hang in there like that, dude, when we got off and everything else. I appreciate it, dude. You're the man, Steve. Everything went our way tonight. Everything went our way.
Kurt Busch becomes the 7th driver to win the All-Star race and the 600 in the same year.
On to the real victory lane in Charlotte. Woo!
Dick Berggren with Chip Ganassi.
First at Indianapolis, second here. The smile says it all.
I tell you, it was a great race. I mean, Jamie did a great job in the Bass Pro car tonight. I mean, you can't take anything away from him. I mean, my old buddy Penske beat me tonight.
Congratulations, you did a terrific job.
Yeah, my hat's off to Kurt. He did a great job.
Indeed, thank you.
Kurt Busch becomes the 29th driver to win the Coca-Cola 600. He led 252 laps tonight. In fact, this is the first Sprint Cup point race win for Roger Penske at Charlotte.
As my old buddies used to say, he just stunk up the show tonight.
But I tell you what, that crew right there, for this car to lead 252 laps, a brand new race car, I would say we're going to see another unwind lap.
That's
oh boy.
I don't know if that's
Jeff Burton and Kyle Busch. Harsh words. And all in one direction.
Whoa, you don't see Jeff Burton get mad like that very often.
You recall that Jeff Burton ended up way up high and almost in the wall as Kyle was coming through in the middle on that restart.
Kyle got into Burton and cut his left rear tire down. That's what he's upset about.
Here's a look at it. There's Kyle in the middle.
Right here, I think you'll see a little contact, and this is what cuts Burton's tire down. But you gotta also see that the 33 was underneath the Kyle's. I can't really, you know, that's just close racing on a restart.
Here's a look from the helicopter.
Right there is where the tire got cut.
But I'm going to tell you what, Darrell, that's a borderline call there. Who did what?
Yeah, I agree, Larry. But I don't blame Burton for being upset. I mean, he had a great run.
car.
So the fireworks continue here in Charlotte. Kurt Busch will do the celebrating when we return. It's him in victory lane. Chris Devoto.
Well, last Saturday, the payout was $1 million. This one may not be as much, but it means so much more as you see the Miller Lite celebration begin. Truly overwhelmed. His best finish in this race coming in was 11th. No top 10s, no top 5s. Now, a win. Kurt, you dominated this race. His wife Eva comes in to get a kiss. You dominated this race, but in those closing laps, you needed that caution and you needed your team to step up.
That's right. I mean, it's unbelievable how much this is a team effort. I mean, I get the spoiled job of driving an awesome Miller Lite Dodge like this was. I mean, this is just a great team and a great move right now with what we did a few weeks back. And, you know, Steve Addington is brilliant. Dave Winston, he's brains on this team. And everybody just pulls the rope in the same direction. I mean, it's just unbelievable to have a car that would stick that good. And this being Memorial Day and all, I thought about the troops all day long. And, you know, a buddy of mine, Chris, was a paratrooper. He's not here with us right now. But to all the men and women that serve, that protect our freedom, thank you. And we'll be celebrating tomorrow on the lake. And everybody should stop by their convenience stores and get these Miller Lite Vortex bottles. That's what I'm talking about. And on Tuesday, go buy a Dodge.
Well, Kurt, I know the problem for you in the past has always been that transition, day to night. How did you complete the deal? What was the difference this time around?
Well, I went all the way around our all-star setup. I felt like that was the best car at night, and whatever struggles we would have during the day, we would deal with. And man, the car was good in the day, so I was scared. I was scared all race long that it was going to dominate the first part and then lose it towards the end. And McMurray kept us honest. I'll give him that. But it's when things go your way and when things continue to click, like we needed a caution, we got it. It's amazing when the good Lord blesses you like this. So thanks to all the fans. It's a wonderful deal. And to Fox, thanks for the coverage. And Sprint, they do a fantastic job with our sport. And all of our associate sponsors, I mean, with it, Discount Tire, Snap-on, PPG, Lennox, all these guys that help make this happen, Dodge especially. It's sometimes we think we're behind driving a Dodge, but most importantly, Roger, this one's for you. I thought about that Ganassi car behind me. He wasn't going to get by us. Thanks a lot.
The captain may have come up short in the Indy 500, not in the Coca Cola 600. They call Charlotte the Queen City, Mike, today, and the last 2 weeks, Kurt Busch has been king.
Absolutely. A big hug from his mom, Gay, and his dad, Tom. There, a big celebration for the Busch family. And what great headlines, what great races we've had for our portion of this season. Just hate to see it end.
Yeah, I do too. You know, as keepers of the sport for the last, 14 events, 16 really, if you count the Bud Shootout and the All-Star race, this has been the best season by far I think we've had. It's our 10th anniversary. Everybody, Mike, Larry, everybody down in the pits and in the Hollywood Hotel, I've been so proud to be a part of Fox Sports this year. I think we've done a great job, and hope the fans, we're going to miss you, and I hope you miss us.
And I think Darrell said it in the pre-race. When we rolled into Daytona, you just felt the energy. And it didn't let us down with Jamie McMurray winning that Daytona 500 and carrying on to Kevin Harvick at Talladega. And then you look at the story with Denny Hamlin winning at Martinsville just a few days before surgery and coming back to win 2 more races, and it didn't let us down tonight. You know what, guys? I hope we're here for 10 more years.
I do too. Yeah, I got one for you. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go fishing, boys.
Well, we want to end this.